23-year-old retail salesperson Kelly Postumus for unpaid rent, unpaid loans, and the value of a dog. Kelly is countersuing for the return of her property.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 35 on the calendar in the matter of Lowen versus Postumus. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Mr. Lowen, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for rent, some money that you loaned to her, and is responsible for your puppy being lost. She says that you owe her money because you stole stuff from her storage unit. So you're going to explain this situation to me, starting with how she came to live in your house.
Okay, she married a good buddy of mine. She moved in. They both shared a room for $500 a month. And
so you had a friend
yeah.
who married her.
Yes.
And he was your tenant.
Yes.
Okay. When did he move in?
Beginning of September 1st.
With his wife?
Yes.
That's the defendant?
Yes.
And then what happened?
Well, actually, they moved in, and then they got married like a week later. And then he paid $430, and then he left September 26th. He took off. He ditched her, and then she ended up staying because she had nowhere to go, so I let her stay. And then, so I'm asking for rent money.
Let's move on. So you let her stay?
Yes.
And did you have a rental arrangement with her?
Yes.
What was the arrangement?
Well, first of all, when they were married together, it was $500 a month. And then, you know, if it's just her, it's $400 a month.
Starting in October?
Yes.
Did she pay you in October?
No.
Did she pay you in November?
Nope, she never paid any rent.
Just a second. Didn't pay you in October, didn't pay you in November. When did she move out?
She moved out January 8th.
Did she pay you in December?
Nope.
And she was just your tenant?
Yes.
No romance, no nothing like that?
She tried to lure me into a relationship, but...
But you resisted?
Right.
Fine. I just want to know, this is just rent?
Yes.
And she's staying in her room and you got your room?
Well, actually, she wouldn't leave me alone. She was like a tail, I guess.
No, Mr. Lowen, listen to me, sir. I have to find out if this is a pure tenancy relationship or if something happened, because that's part of her defense. So she did not only stay in her room, but sometimes you shared a room.
Right.
Okay. When did you start sharing a room?
Well, she didn't have a bed, so I had an extra bed, and she stayed on that for a while, and then she jumped in my bed.
When did you start sharing a room, sir?
We started sharing October 4th.
Okay. Now you want to tell me about these loans that you claim, sir?
She came up to me at work and asked to borrow $60. And her and my roommate, Angie, went out and got cats. It was a surprise, so I gave her the money. She comes home with the cat.
When?
I'm not sure on the exact date.
What else?
And then I gave her, she asked...
Stop playing with the cards.
Sorry. She asked, I borrowed a couple $100 to her in cash.
When?
I'm not sure.
For what?
Miscellaneous stuff. I'm not even sure what it was for.
Before or after she was sharing your room on October 4th?
After.
What else?
And then I gave her... she went on house arrest for a few weeks. And
What?
I paid for all the house arrest.
What was she on house arrest for?
That I'm not exactly sure. She was, I wouldn't call her an honest person, so...
What else?
She wanted to borrow a couple $100 to go Christmas shopping for her 3 kids, and I wrote a check to the bank, and I got a receipt and a check saying that I got the $200 from my bank to loan her.
Oh, this better pick up, Mr. Lowen. Let's go.
And then I also gave her $30 for she needed to get diapers for her kids, and then I also she ordered Chinese food one day at work, and I went out and picked up the Chinese food, and then I paid for it, and of course she never paid me back for it. And then on November 1st, she cleaned out cleaned out her room, and I had to pay $6 extra for garbage. And then when she finally moved out, I had to pay another $4 to get rid of some more stuff.
Judge Judy, am I allowed to step in here for a minute?
No.
She
Let me stop you, Mr. Lowen, because I'm really getting very bored. And if I'm bored, Bert is bored. With your $6 and your $4 and your $20 and your $23. From October the 4th until she left in January, did she share your room?
Yes. Well, not the whole time.
Half the time?
About that, yeah.
Forget it. Can you say these words? No, I'm not interested. Could you repeat those words to me?
Yeah, no, I'm not interested.
No, I'm not interested.
I'd like to call my witness. She can verify that she would not leave me alone. I asked her several times to leave.
Mr. Lowen, you don't ask her several times to leave. You call the authorities and say, I want this person who's trespassing in my house out of my house. You have no lease with her. She had no right to be there. But you can't call the police to come to your house to evict a trespasser who you're sleeping with. That's a problem. Do you work for a living?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I deliver pizzas for Domino's Pizza.
Okay. If Domino's Pizza calls somebody and says, we have an offer, you get a 12-inch pizza with 9 toppings for $6.99, and somebody doesn't like pizza, you know what they say? No, I'm not interested. But listen to me, Mr. Lowen. You don't eat the pizza and then say, no, I'm not interested. Do you understand my point?
That's a good analogy, yeah.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Would you tell me what happened with the puppy?
I bought the dog for $150. So the next day, she threw a Halloween party, and the dog disappeared.
Jed had taken her to court and sued her for the puppy, too.
And later today,
I started crying, and I was screaming. I was saying, you know, stop. And he said, shut the F up and get over it.
Listen, Miss Campbell, get over it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jed Lowen says his relationship with roommate Kelly Postumus quickly turned romantic. Now, he claims she owes for unpaid loans, rent, and for the cost of a puppy.
Now, madam,
Yes.
you say that he took stuff out of your storage unit.
Yes.
What was your stuff doing in storage?
It was after I moved out of his house, I placed it all in storage.
Did he have a key to the storage unit?
Actually, yes, when we first got it, he put it in his name. So he's the only person that had a key.
What was in your storage unit?
I had everything, my bed, my crib, my table, my TV, my PS2, my VCR, all my clothes, my kids' stuff.
Mr. Lowen, did you take any of the stuff out of the storage unit that
No,
belongs
Your
to her?
It's a bunch of junk in her storage.
Did
I
you
didn't
stop
take
paying
anything.
for the storage?
I signed the lease, and I was on it for, I got a month free, and then like a month later, we went and got it arranged so it was in her name.
You went together.
Right.
Now, when you went together, did you check the storage unit?
I didn't even look in there.
You went down to the storage unit with him and had it put in your name?
I met down there and...
Just answer my
No,
question.
not with him.
You met down there?
Yes.
Did you look in the storage unit at that time?
He wouldn't give me the key. He wouldn't let me go in there. He had bought me a car.
Just a sec. If you went and put it in your name and paid for it, then they'll give you another key.
Your Honor, the lock that I originally had on there, he went and cut it off and put his own lock on. And he had bought me a car. And he told me the car, I had moved to Illinois, and he told me he wasn't going to sign over the storage until he got the car back. So that day, he went down with his mom, got the car, and I have in the signed agreement here saying that once he got the car, he would sign it over, give me the keys, he wouldn't take anything or nothing out of my storage. And the next day, he came over, signed it over, but he didn't give us the keys.
Other than the fact that he had the key, you have no proof that he took anything out of the storage unit. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, now tell
I
me
have my
about
witness, though, that knows everything that was in storage. I have
I don't care.
pictures.
Any proof that he took stuff out of storage? Why don't you pay him any rent?
I did actually pay him rent when I was working at Domino's. I signed over 2 checks to him. One was for $350 and one was for $400.
The last item on your agenda is this puppy,
Yes.
right? What happened with the puppy?
Well, I wrote a personal check, which I got the check right here. And she was my witness. She lived with me at the time.
Would you tell me what happened with the puppy?
I bought the dog this October 30th for $150. So the next day, she threw a Halloween party.
Who's she?
Kelly.
Yes?
She threw a Halloween party and the dog disappeared.
Where were you?
I was working.
What happened to the puppy?
Actually, somebody took the puppy from the party we had, but he wasn't working. He was there. And Angie, that's sitting over there, it was probably about 3 months ago. She was an ex-roommate, too. Jed had taken her to court and sued her for the puppy, too. This is the third person.
Were you sued for this puppy?
Not for the puppy, it was for the cat.
Takes all kinds. Mr. Lowen, you have no case. You ate the pizza, sir. You ate the pizza. And, madam, you have no case, because you can't prove to me that he took anything out of your storage.
Can I show you pictures?
Goodbye. Have a happy life. It's been nice spending the morning with you. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's scandalous, doesn't pay anyone anything.
I got pictures of everything being damaged. My entertainment center is totally scratched up. I mean, just everything that was in there.
I never touched her. I never broke anything. She made it all up, and her junk wasn't worth anything anyways.
Everything was going fine between me and him, and then all of a sudden his parents are like, if you don't choose her or else you're never going to see us again, so that's when he kicked me out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Campbell versus Mason. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Katie Campbell and her mother, Kathy Campbell, are suing Katie's former friend, 17-year-old Tim Mason, and his mother, Tamara Mason. Katie says Tim cut her hair against her will.
Miss Campbell, this is your daughter?
Yes.
And you're suing on her behalf, is that right?
Yes.
And Miss Mason, this is your son?
Yes.
And you're defending the suit on his behalf because you are how old, sir?
17 years old.
All right, so I'd like all the mothers to sit down, please. I'm going to make short work of this. Miss Campbell, it is your complaint that the defendant assaulted you by cutting your hair off.
Yes.
And you want him to pay all sorts of damages because you wanted to be a model and it took you 5 years to grow your hair. And that was your crowning glory, and he made a mess of it when he cut it. Is that right?
Correct.
Is this the young lady that you were with when he cut your hair?
Yes.
All right, you step up here. Let's do this very, very fast.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Katie Campbell says former friend, 17-year-old Tim Mason, cut her hair against her will. Katie says it's been a serious setback to her modeling career.
You wanted to get your hair done?
Yeah.
She was just going along for the ride.
Right. It was her.
Where were you going to go to get your hair done?
He was coming to our house. He was just a friend of hers.
Okay, and he wants to be a hairdresser?
No, not
You
at all.
just want to be...
I don't want nothing to do with hair. They asked me as a favor. I do my hair every once in a while, pull it through a cap, and they asked me to come over to do it out of a favor.
What were you going to do for this young lady?
Fix Katie's mess up of her hair dye.
Color or a cut?
Color.
Color. So he was going to color you. Now, why would you let him color your hair?
He was a friend of hers.
Friend of whose?
My sister's. Mine.
Now, did he color your hair?
Yes, he did.
Good. And then he cut your sister's hair.
Right.
Tell me how that happened.
Well, he cut my sister's hair. I mean, he colored my sister's hair, and then he pulled me into the bathroom, and he had.
How did he pull you? You're bigger than he is.
Well, he said, "Come to the bathroom," and I said, "Okay, what are we doing?" And he's like, "Well, I'm going to feather your hair." And I said, "What does that mean?" And he pulled out like a comb that he had in his own bag, and he said, "I'm going to feather it." And I said, "Well, I don't know what that means. You're not cutting my hair if that's what you mean." And he said, "No, I'm not cutting your hair." And he repeatedly said he was not cutting my hair. And I said, "Okay, then what do you mean by feather it?" And he said, "Just trust me." So he sat me down in the chair, and he took like a tiny little bit off the ends. And I said, "Well, that's cutting my hair." And he said, "No, I'm just going to take the dead ends off so it'll grow faster." And I was like, "Well, I don't know." So he took all my hair into the back, kind of like a ponytail, and he took the comb and he just hit it like really hard right in the middle, and like in a matter of seconds, it was all gone. And so then I started.
Bye-bye. It's all gone.
And so I started crying, and I was screaming. I was saying, stop. And
stop. And then he finished it up. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me your version.
I came over. Katie picked me up, met me at a specific location to go to a supply store to get bleach for her hair and a couple of supplies. I asked Katie, "Okay, are we going to do your hair?" She said, "Okay, we'll buy an extra kit for mine, just in case I like Shelly's hair, how it turns out." So she bought all the products. We bought a kit for her. I brought this comb, and I said, "Okay, if you wanted to do your hair, feather it, whatever, this is what I got." This is a feathering, texturizing comb. It is used to texturize and feather hair. It does not use to chop off big amounts of hair.
So would you just tell me how come you cut her hair? Tell me what happened.
She asked me to cut her hair.
And where did she ask you to cut her hair?
At her sister's apartment, in the bathroom.
Where? In the bathroom.
Yes.
How did she get into the bathroom?
We walked into the bathroom.
Both of you walked in. You didn't
We
pick her
all-
up. You didn't pick her up and carry her there,
No.
did you?
No.
No.
Willingly.
Huh?
We all willingly went to the bathroom, had, you know, she had Kool-Aid, we were all having a good time. I was playing with
Listen,
her son.
Miss Campbell, get over it. Get over it. You were playing around with your sister. She was letting some unprofessional teenager do stuff on her hair. Whether you let him, whether he was acting like an idiot or not, you have choices. Your choice is you don't go to the bathroom, you don't sit down, you don't say, I don't understand what feathering is. What's feathering? Is it going to cut my hair? You say, don't touch my hair, it's my crowning glory.
I did.
Then you leave.
I tried, and he pushed me back down. And he hit my arm down too when I was trying to stop him. And he said, shut the F up and get over it. You know, it's done and done. And
But it was already done.
yeah,
already
when he was doing it, and then he's like, I need to fix it, and you know, this is my career. I've been growing it out, and you know.
So, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
I don't
You
know.
won't put yourself in this situation. The three teenagers put themselves in this situation. He certainly doesn't have any money to pay you. Why should his mother have to deal with that? I want to tell you something. If you're not a professional hairdresser, if you're not licensed, you're not supposed to be working on anybody. Your only redeeming trait right now is that you are 17 and you are not of age where you could really lose the ability to practice this kind of career permanently. You understand that? Mm-hmm. I mean, is this what you want to do as a profession?
I was doing it for favor. I don't want nothing to
Listen.
do with hair. Nothing.
So that I don't understand why you would even
I was
take
doing them a
somebody
favor.
else's head.
They didn't have the money to get it done. She says, oh, I saw, you know, your friends.
Mr. Mason, listen to me very carefully. If you
I don't
don't know
want nothing to do
anything
with hair,
about
that's it.
hair, if you don't profess to know anything about hair, and don't indicate that you know anything about hair, why wouldn't Shelley have her sister do the same thing on her hair that you did if you know nothing about hair? If you don't profess to know anything about hair. Do you understand?
I understand.
It doesn't make any sense unless you suggest that one of them likes you, one of them has a crush on you.
Katie asked me to homecoming.
Did she?
Yes.
When?
In the beginning of the fall, and I wasn't able to make it.
Is that right?
Your Honor, he's gay, and he said that he
I'm gay?
he said he would go as a friend. Yes, he said he would go as a friend because she didn't have a date, and she didn't want to miss the only dance because she's doing internet
So
school.
did you go together?
No, he ditched me for it. He didn't show up.
Even more reason not to invite him over to your home.
Right. Well, he apologized
to
and
take
everything, and he
care
had a message
of
on
things
there. Right.
that he has no business taking care of, which means he
Right.
lets somebody who has absolutely no training do anything
Right.
to you, because aside from everything else, you could get hurt. Not just your hair, which grows back. You know, whether it takes 6 months or a year, your hair's going to grow back.
Right.
What other thing? You're using bleach on your head, you're using caustic materials, you're letting some schlemiel over you who has no talent take care of you. Very foolish. Your case is dismissed. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Charges and an unpaid bill for internet service.
Come to order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 88 on the calendar in the matter of Whiteacre versus Wells. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Whiteacre, was the defendant a boyfriend of yours who was living in your house?
Yes, he was.
How long did he live in your house?
About 4 months.
And you were living with your parents?
Yes.
And your claim is that he ran up some bills while he was living there.
Correct.
And in addition to the bills, you also have an IOU that he signed.
Correct.
The defendant says, he doesn't talk much about the bills in his answer, but he says he was forced to sign the IOU under duress. So first, let me take a look at the bills, then let me take a look at the IOU. You're going to tell me a little bit about why he came to live with you and what the bills were for, and then I'm going to hear all about the duress.
Everything.
So while I'm looking at this, because I can usually do a couple of things at one time, as long as they're not too hard, can you tell me why he came to live in your house?
He came to live with us 17th of October in 2001. We had been dating when we both lived in Seattle. I had to return home to California, and he had to return to Syracuse. We had been communicating in between then, letters, emails, phone calls, and we both thought that each other was the right one.
You both thought what?
Each other was the right one.
Go
And,
ahead.
well, we aren't, but...
Go ahead.
Okay, and so he came to live with me, and it was only supposed to have been until
about the middle of January. Things had deteriorated so much by then that he moved out the next month.
And while he was there, what kind of bills did he run up?
When he arrived, he had virtually no clothes. I ended up taking him to Mervyn's, and he spent about $150 there on clothing for work.
Well, what did you tell him about that expenditure?
When he came to me and said, would it be all right if I went and got some clothes and used your credit card? I'll take over the payments. And I said, well, I actually owe some money on my credit card, so why don't you just give me the money? And he said, okay.
And he never gave you the money?
He ended up giving me about $150 of what he owed, and that's it, in 2 payments.
All right, well, what else? Because I see a lot of little charges here. $15, $3.57.
He actually paid some of that money.
Well, what didn't he pay?
He paid 2 things virtually when they were put on my credit card. One was his cell phone bill, which was $53, and another one he gave me partial amounts of money, the $80 for cable internet bill, I believe.
What's $103 in interest?
That's how much interest. He's been accruing this interest more or less since October.
I'm going to read something to you. I, Seth Q. Wells, do agree to pay Summer Whiteacre $343.17 in credit card charges, and then you crossed out, I assume you crossed out, I do further agree to pay 6% interest calculated each month until the end of April, when the above debt will be paid in full. Did you cross out the interest part? Take a look.
No, she crossed that out. I did
Okay.
not cross it out.
That is your signature.
Yes, it is.
Then here we go, sir. It's your turn. Talk to me about this duress.
Basically, she was in the process of taking me, she was moving the last of my stuff to my new apartment. And we had been discussing the relationship and the end of the relationship. And it basically got to the point where she was really upset and out of control. Like, literally, I was not...
Explain to me out of control.
Basically, she was crying and yelling at me, saying that it was, you know, I needed to accept my part of the responsibility for the relationship, and her speed was increasing. And
You were in the car?
Yes, I was in the passenger
Yes.
seat. And I literally did not feel safe under the situation. And she has actually been in the same mindset before, and I felt the same feeling of being unsafe with the way she was driving.
He chooses to bring up... I'm sorry.
And, I mean, I did not feel...
Will you get to the IOU, please?
Yeah, well, she handed it over to me saying, you have to sign this. And this is when she was...
Where was it when she handed it to you?
It was in her hand, and she handed it over to me. We were in the car.
Well, she was driving.
Yes.
And she's crying.
Yes.
And she hands this over to you.
She looked over and handed it to me.
Right. Is that when you gave him this, in the car?
Yes, it was in the car.
Uh-huh. Go ahead. So you signed it while she was driving?
Right. I basically felt that if I did not sign it, then it would have escalated, and I didn't know to what point.
Okay, now you sign it.
Yes.
Did she calm down?
Yes, she did.
And were you still holding it?
Yes, I was. Well, after I signed it, I did hand it back.
And she took it back while she was...
While she was driving.
While she was driving?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And hysterical?
Yes.
Does that sound right to you?
Not really. I was upset. I wanted him to stand up and say, yes, I am responsible for these charges. He chooses to bring up relationship issues in the car.
I'm not interested in relationship issues. I'm talking about fear.
I don't see how he could have been afraid. He is quite a bit larger than I am.
He doesn't have the car behind him.
He could have overpowered me at any time.
I wasn't afraid of you.
No.
I was afraid of the driving.
Look, Mr. Wells, you signed the IOU.
Yes.
Pay the lady the money, $343.17. Pretty exact amount. Are these your charges?
Yes.
Then what are we here for?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
At worst, you're paying for your own clothing that I assume you're wearing.
Yes.
She's not getting any pleasure from it. She's not seeing you in it when you're going out for dinner.
And later today...
I've trained hundreds of people at that school. I've never had an incident like this.
That's a pretty nasty email from a businessman.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Summer Whiteacre says ex-boyfriend Seth Wells owes for credit card charges and bills while they lived together. Seth says he was forced to sign a promissory note.
If they're your charges, who cares whether you were forced to sign an IOU under duress?
Part of them was already paid for.
She gave you credit for what you paid for, sir.
Right, what I paid for is part of that list. It's not the clothing. The clothing, she had said, and I said, you know, it'll be a while before I get, you know, my first paycheck and be able, you know, to pay you back. And she said, don't worry about it, you don't have to. It was the beginning of the relationship, and, you know, when everything is, like, wonderful and happy. And I said, okay. She said, you don't have to, don't worry about it. And I said, are you sure? And she said, yes.
So you're saying to me these are your charges, but it was a gift?
The clothing, yes, was a gift.
Yes.
The rest of it was not, which I did pay the $150.
But there's more charges here than $150, sir.
I'm not exactly sure how that's been. It's been increasing every time she talks to me, so I'm not sure what it's always a new amount.
I don't know. All I know is I can't be bothered with the two of you anymore. We're talking about $343.17. At worst, you're paying for your own clothing. That's the worst scenario. Right. Clothing that I assume you're wearing. Is that right? Not today, necessarily. But you're wearing it.
Yes.
She's not getting any pleasure from it. She's not seeing you in it when you're going out for dinner.
No.
So, don't make a big deal of it. Just pay the money, put a period, sayonara, and goodbye. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff, $343.17. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I broke up because she had cheated on me. She got bitter because I broke up with her, and now suddenly, you know, now you owe me this, now you owe me that.
He's the biggest loser I could have ever found in my entire life, and he can't own up to his mistakes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Parker Cruz versus Bumpus. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Brittany Parker and her friend, 19-year-old student Nil Marie Cruz, are suing boxing coach Jada Bumpus for a refund of the money they paid for boxing lessons.
All right, you two ladies go to college, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you decided to sign up for some boxing lessons for exercise with the defendant. One of you paid in full $150. Which one was that? And you are?
Brittany Parker.
And Miss Cruz, you didn't pay the $150, you paid $100.
Yes.
And you told Mr. Bumpers that you would be giving him the other $50 when you came back. Each of you took one lesson, and then you decided not to continue for whatever reason, and you want your money back.
Yes.
Defendant says, no way. Aside from everything else, you stood him up for about 4 classes. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was your first boxing lesson?
November 7th was a Wednesday.
Do you have a contract with the defendant?
We didn't sign any contract, but we had receipts.
Was there any conversation about the 10 lessons? How many lessons you were supposed to take within a certain period of time?
We figured that we'd do it every Wednesday and Friday at 4 o'clock.
And you were supposed to be there on Friday?
Yes.
Did you go?
No, I called them at 7 that morning because I had a family emergency that sprung up on Thursday, so I had to be home.
What kind of an emergency?
Well,
not well. What kind of an emergency, Ms. Parker?
My family was going through a divorce. Well, my parents were going through a divorce at the time, and I had to attend to my mother's needs.
The following Wednesday, did you show up at 4 o'clock?
Yes, we both did.
Did you take a lesson?
No.
Why not?
Because he wasn't there.
Why weren't you there, Mr. Bumpus?
Because the class was scheduled for 3:30 to 4:30 was the agreement. This 4 o'clock is very conveniently, they've come up with this time. It was scheduled from 3:30 to 4:30, and we agreed that it'd be twice a week. Because I gave them a big discount, I usually charge $250 for 10 private 1.5-hour sessions. To college students, I charge $185 because they're college students. When Brittany Parker called me, it was 7 weeks after September 11th attack. Business was slow. I said, I'll give you a $25 discount if you sign up right away for $160. She said, well, I got a friend that wants to sign up. Well, what if the 2 of us sign up? So I said, well, you bring me $300 and the 2 of you can sign up.
Does that sound right?
All but the time. I'm not sure if it was at 3:30 or 4.
So you're not sure?
Well, it's been a while. This was back in November.
Well, if you're not sure, then he knows, and it was at 3:30.
Whatever time it was. If it was 3:30 that we were supposed to meet him, that's what time we were there.
You don't know that at all. So did you call him when he wasn't there?
Yeah, I called him right away when we were standing at the gym waiting for him.
Did you reach him?
Nope. Voice left a message on his answering machine.
When did you next contact Mr. Bumpus?
I finally checked my voice, my email that day or night, and I found the emails that he sent me over the weekend after the Friday class that we missed.
Well, can I see those emails?
Yeah, I have them all here. The first one is the introduction to his program.
No,
it's about 3 pages long.
Mr. Bumpus, I'd like you to take a look at this email, please, and tell me if you recall sending it.
Okay. This may be. It looks.
It was a message that you sent, sir. I have the other email
Yeah,
here.
it looks like.
Okay, so let me get the time frame correctly. Give me that back, please. Time frame is they come in and they start and they take one boxing lesson on Wednesday, November 7th. They were supposed to come back on the 9th for another lesson and didn't show up.
Right.
Right? You didn't show up. Now, he's entitled to be paid for the 9th when you didn't show up. He was waiting there for you. He says he didn't get the message. You didn't reach him. You may have called him in the morning, but you didn't reach him. Is that right?
No.
No. But then, come Wednesday, he says you're supposed to be there at 3:30, and he indicates that in the email. He'd like to see you between 3 and 3:30. But on Tuesday, sir, the day before, Tuesday, you've already sent this rather nasty email.
Can I explain it?
Well, you sent them.
Can I
You
explain
sure
why?
can, but let me tell you
Okay,
what
go
you
ahead.
said. You said in the email, the price of my classes is $185. You bargained me down on the premise that you would each give me $150. Then Nell Marie showed up with only $100, promising to bring the rest on Friday. Without an utterance from her, you called at the last minute and claimed that the two of you would be seeing me the following lesson tomorrow, Wednesday. And then you write in block letters, wrong. I can't and won't do business like that. Neither of you have shown an ounce of integrity in my dealings with you. Unless you can assure me that you'll give me $10 and Nell Marie $60, the original charge of $160, then I won't give you classes until you meet your obligation, period. So you changed the contract from $150 to $160 in here. I expect to hear from you by tomorrow morning. Otherwise, don't expect to see me. That's a pretty nasty email from a businessman. Go ahead.
They lied. Number one, she didn't call and leave a message at my house at 7 in the morning. I hadn't left. When I got back from Amherst, my tape machine said 1:20 in the afternoon.
I just said to you, sir, she has to pay for that lesson.
No, but I'm just saying.
Now listen to me.
Okay.
They have to pay for that lesson.
Okay.
They stood you up. If you say you made the trip, they're going to pay for that lesson.
But that
doesn't explain this kind of email.
The anger is now she had the family emergency as she presented, but it was Nomari who didn't have my money. She was going home because it was like Veterans Day weekend. Now the story has changed that she had family problems.
I don't
And
even know if she
Nomari-
had family problems.
That's what got me so upset, because it was a game, because we had gone over a 2-week period for them, finally getting them to meet me. I don't have time for games. I've trained hundreds of people at that school. I've never had an incident like this. I
can't believe that, sir, when you deal with college students, that you haven't had an incident like this.
Not like this. I haven't, I'm telling you.
This is not bizarre. It's two college girls. One decided to go home for Veterans Day weekend. The other one didn't have the other $50. You, however, Mr. Bumpus, and I'm not excusing that, they were a little irresponsible, and they didn't, they didn't respect your time.
But I took away the anger in a future conversation.
I don't care whether you took it away or not. This said, now I'm changing the contract. It's not $150 anymore. Now it's $160. Well, you've already got a lot of their money, far more than you've invested in the boxing lessons, sir. Far more.
Well, that's a matter of what you think value is. I tell everybody that signs up with me, the first class really is what you're paying for. The rest are free, because you learn so much in that first class. They learned things that they wouldn't have learned in 6 months in the average boxing gym. And that's the bottom line.
Just figure this out. $150 divided by 10 lessons equals $15 a lesson per person.
Numerically,
They took-
I understand. Yeah.
That's my job here. I'm not really good at numbers, but that's what it is. It comes out to $15 a lesson for 1 hour. Miss Parker paid you $150. She took one lesson. She missed another lesson that she had scheduled, and I don't find there's any valid reason, because I think that this is all a lot of baloney, this other reason that you gave me, which means that Mr. Bumpus owes you, if you canceled, $120. And the reason I say that is Mr. Bumpus, in his email to you, changed the contract from $150 to $160, and he can't unilaterally do that. So Mr. Bumpus has to refund to you, madam, $120. And he has to refund to Miss Cruz, who only paid $100, and who also, for no valid reason, skipped a class when he was there waiting for you. He's entitled to be paid for his time. He's got other things to do with his time. And you're entitled to $70. Miss Parker, I don't know what statute you're looking at that says you're entitled to treble damages, which you're suing for, triple the 120.
Under the 93A Massachusetts law.
You're not going to get it.
That's
you have
fine.
to act responsibly.
But that's under the law. That's why I had legal advice to do that.
All right. Well, your legal advice was wrong. You have to behave responsibly in order to avail yourself of a claim that is punitive against him, against him, giving you triple the amount of damages that you're suing for. And you two girls did not act really responsibly. You know, you have to start to value other people's professional time. And his time is his money. So you have to act responsibly. You are entitled, however, to a refund in the lessons that you didn't take because Mr. Bumpus changed the terms of the contract. That's all.
Parties are excused.
The father of her baby, 23-year-old pipe fitter Travis Burke, for the return of personal belongings. Travis says he took what was his.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, case number 89 on the calendar in the matter of Pinedo versus Burke.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Pinedo, you and the defendant lived together for a brief period of time.
Yes.
You also have a child together.
Yes.
And when you separated, it is your claim that the defendant kept some property that is rightfully yours.
Yes.
The defendant says that when you separated, you split the property. You took some, he kept some, and everything was split fairly. When did you start to live together?
We started living together in May.
In May of 2001.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have a baby.
Yes.
When was he born?
February 1st of 2002.
And when did you and the defendant cease living together?
July of 2001.
So you were a few months pregnant at that point.
I found out I was pregnant at the end of June. On July 13th, I found out I was about 6.5 weeks pregnant. That was my first ultrasound.
Okay. Now, what is it that you claim Mr. Burke has that belongs to you?
I had purchased a PlayStation 2 with about $300-400 worth of games, with a console, an extra controller, an entertainment center.
Okay, PlayStation. Very important for people who are expecting a child. What else did you purchase?
We purchased an entertainment center. I had purchased an entertainment center.
Now, that's a very interesting word that you used, Ms. Pinedo. You said we purchased an entertainment center.
Yes, I understand that. It was on my credit card, on my Best Buy account.
And those are the two things, entertainment center and a PlayStation. And
there's
games.
other things.
Like what?
I had purchased a car stereo for a car that I had purchased because Travis didn't have a car. So it was too hard for me to get up and have to take him to work and then have to go to work as well.
Yeah. So?
So I purchased a car and I had put a new stereo and speakers in it.
So?
And when we had broken up, I had asked him for the car back. And he refused to give me the car back. I had reported the car stolen. And then he went ahead and returned the car because he knew I had reported the car stolen. And when he had returned the car stripped of the stereo, stripped of the speakers, and had locked all the doors, didn't leave me with a key, and I had to pay $150 to have a key made for the car.
Now, what else was purchased that you did, in fact, take with you when you separated? Because that's his defense.
Right. Well, everything else that I had taken with me, I had already had when we moved in together. I had my computer desk with my computer and my bed.
What did he purchase?
He didn't purchase anything for the apartment.
Well,
he came to the apartment with a couch.
Mr. Burke, you say she got the TV and the DVD player.
That's stuff we had bought together.
Did you take a TV and a DVD player?
Yes, ma'am.
You did?
Yes.
Who purchased that?
I did.
You mean you put it on your credit card?
Yes, ma'am.
Who paid for it?
I'm still paying for it to this day.
And you mean he contributed nothing?
No.
To the TV and the DVD player?
No, I've made all the payments on my credit cards.
In what month were they purchased?
To be honest with you, I don't remember. They're on the receipts. The dates are on the receipts.
A week prior to moving into the apartment together. We went shopping. She did have a Best Buy card. We bought a refrigerator, TV. She had bought me a DVD player before. The stereo and everything for the car, all gifts, PlayStation 2. There wasn't $400 worth of games. All that stuff was considered gifts.
Bull!
The stuff for the apartment wasn't gifts, but the other stuff, personal items to me. Why does she need to buy a stereo for me?
Just a second. Are you playing with me or what?
No.
All right. A refrigerator isn't a gift.
I said the stuff for the apartment was not considered a gift. Okay.
PlayStation is for the apartment. An entertainment center is for the apartment. A TV is for the apartment. A DVD player is for the apartment. When you talk about personal gifts for you, you're talking about underwear. There's a difference between underwear
Maybe
or
that's
a belt
what you buy
or
your
socks.
husband, but that's not what she buys me.
Well, maybe not. How much you pay in child support?
$380 a month.
Since when?
Since the judgment was last month.
The judgment was made on May 2nd, Your Honor, and there has not even been one check that I have received yet. I had called his work this week, and they said that they would be taking the first payment out today.
So far you haven't paid anything?
No, that's the wrong.
No, he has paid when the baby was first born. Before we went to court, he did pay when he felt like paying.
Okay. Let me see your bills. I want to know what you took out. You took the TV?
Yes.
You took the DVD player?
Yes, ma'am.
You left him the refrigerator?
I did not leave him the refrigerator. When I moved out, I only had 2 friends and my mother to help me.
No, I'm asking you. You bought a refrigerator that stayed in the apartment?
Yes, it had stayed in the apartment because I couldn't move it. When I came back to move it, it was gone.
Why were you going to move it?
Because I was moving out. 2 days after we broke up, I was driving to go get my oil change, which was...
Listen to me. Was he working at the time that you were living together?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were working?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I now lay gas lines for
What were you doing then?
Working in a machine shop.
Okay, and what kind of work were you doing?
I'm a pharmacy technician.
Okay, were you earning similar money?
I was earning double to what he was earning.
And were you putting all your money into the bank? Into a joint account? You had a joint account?
No, we did not have a joint account.
How did you work out the bills?
He paid half, I paid half.
Half the credit card bills?
Half the credit card bills he never paid.
Half the credit card bills have been run up on plastic surgery and other items for herself before we were together.
I'm talking about after you were together. I'm talking about how much money you gave her.
When those bills came, I paid half of them.
He paid half the utilities and half the rent.
Do you have any checks with you to show me that you paid?
No, it was a cash transaction. I didn't know this was going to come to this a year later.
Right.
You know, we were together, and that's how relationships work.
Right. And all of this stuff was purchased at the time that you were living together?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what did you leave with?
When I left...
TV, VCR.
Yes.
What else?
The DVD player.
DVD. What else?
My bed, my dresser.
Were those things that were purchased?
Those were things that were purchased before we were even together.
I'm not talking about those things. The TV, VCR, and DVD player you purchased when you moved in?
No, the DVD player and the TV were purchased while we moved in.
Okay. What else did you leave with?
That was all that I left with while we were living together.
Okay.
That was purchased while we were living together.
Okay. Plus a PlayStation?
Yes.
A refrigerator?
Yes, ma'am.
And what else did you say you got?
Entertainment center.
Entertainment center.
Okay.
The car stereo.
Forget the car stereo. Listen, if you had to buy a car, you didn't have to put an expensive stereo. Didn't it come with a radio?
Yes,
radio.
it had the stock
AM,
stereo.
FM radio. Turn it on, you hum along.
He asked me
with your
if
bills, with your bills, you don't need a stereo. And I'm not entertaining stupidity.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She made a comment the other day, you know, I bought these things for you to try and make you happy when I was with you. Why would you say that if you wanted them all back? She bought them for me. It's a gift.
And later today,
I got a bag, put horse manure in it. I did see her car, and I shook the horse manure onto the trunk of the car, and I got in my car, and I drove away.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Pinedo says the father of her baby, Travis Burke, stole her personal belongings.
Okay. Now, I want you to tell me how much the TV and the DVD player were.
The TV was about $500, and the DVD player was $189.
And the PlayStation?
I believe the receipt's in there.
PlayStation?
$300.
Refrigerator?
Was $542, I believe.
And the entertainment center?
Was $130.
You sure about all those figures?
It's all in the receipts. It came to $129.99, I believe.
Okay. And the VCR you say you had before?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So $500 plus $189, $689. That's the property you got. You got PlayStation and the games, plus $542 plus $130, $972. So let's say all these bills were paid. She got $689 worth of merchandise. You got $972 worth of merchandise. The only problem is she's still paying off the credit card. How much are you paying off on the credit card?
I had to get a bill consolidator because I had to go on disability because I almost lost our son twice. So I have a debt consolidator that pays approximately $10, $24, depending on who the creditor is, and then they automatically take something out of my account.
Well, it's clear that you only lived together for 2 months, so these bills could not have been paid off in 2 months on all the things that you bought. Is that right?
That's correct.
Total is $1,661 for all the items together.
You know, she made a comment the other day, you know, I bought these things for you to try and make you happy when I was with you. Why would you say that if you wanted them all back? She bought them for me. It's a gift.
Where is the PlayStation?
At my house.
And the refrigerator?
At my brother's house.
At your brother's house. What's it doing at your brother's house?
His garage. He needed a refrigerator in there.
Do you have a refrigerator?
But we have to rent one, Your Honor.
Good. What about the entertainment center?
I don't know where that is.
He sold it.
I've moved a couple times. It's
well, it was only worth $130 anyway.
It was
right?
nothing big.
Right?
Yeah.
I just changed my mind about the money. Court will draft an order that within 5 days you are to deliver to her home the PlayStation and all the games, as well as the refrigerator that you get back from your brother within 5 days of this order. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
That way she's paying for it and she has the use of it. Clear? Perfect. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Don't get mixed up with this one because she'll screw you over bad.
He's done a lot of bad things to me. He's cheated on me.
It's an ongoing battle.
Now we have a child together, so I'm just doing the best I can.
If it isn't with my son, it's something else.
And I've taken him back every single time.
She won't go get a job. She won't go do anything to better herself.
I've done, you know, as best as I can with what's been dealt to me.
We've tried to work things out for a year now, you know, off and on.
I hope that we can get along for our son.
Nothing but friends so that my son will see a nice, loving environment.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hardy versus Beaton. Step forward, please.
Groundskeeper Robin Hardy is suing Judy Beaton for dumping horse manure on her car. Judy admits she vandalized the car, but says Robin intentionally spooked her horse.
All right, Miss Beaton, I think we're going to start with you because you seem to acknowledge that you did, in fact, touch in some way the plaintiff's car. And you're going to tell me why you did that. Tell me when this incident happened and where you were.
Yes, Your Honor. It was March 12th. I was riding my horse on this road. I have photos if you'd like to see them.
Yes?
It's a very narrow, windy road with no sidewalks or sidebar to get off of the pavement. And I was almost back to my barn. I have to travel on the road about 100 yards from the trail to the barn. So I was just about to the driveway of the barn when I hear someone beeping in back of me 2 times, very long honking. My horse kind of caved in the back and took off down the road at a quick pace. And I wasn't ready for that, you know, and I was almost toppled off. And I turned and I saw someone with a black car. And I yelled at the person. I said, "What, are you crazy?" And the person yelled back at me.
Person was the plaintiff.
Yes. I said something like, "What, are you, a freaking idiot?" And she said, "Get out of the road," and passed me very close. As she passed me, she cut the wheel hard, almost hitting my German Shepherd dog who was in front of me, and sped off down the road. I tried to get a plate number, but I could just get a few initials, so that was it. And I went back to the barn, and I untacked my horse and put my horse away. I was really upset about it. You know, my heart was pounding, and I've broken several bones on my horse before, and I have 4 children at home to take care of, so...
You took the saddle off your horse, and what did you do?
I got a bag, grain bag here, and I put horse manure in it, and I started to drive home, thinking I might run into her car or her, because I thought maybe she was going to walk her dogs that were in the car at the reservoir down the road. So as I drove home, I did see her car. It was the only car in a parking lot marked DPW vehicles only, so it wasn't very hard to find it. And I pulled in next to it, and I took out the bag out of my car here. It's a paper bag. It's not going to cause any damage. And I had horse manure in the bag, and I shook the horse manure onto the trunk of the car, and I got in my car, and I drove away.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I do not have a trunk of a car. And I find it ridiculous that she'd be driving around with horse manure looking for trouble.
Tell me what happened.
Okay. I was driving down the road with my dogs to take them to the res for a walk. And I was going around a corner, and I seen the defendant in the middle of the road. I've had horses. I know horses will spook if the wind blows. So I stopped. She didn't notice me, so I beeped real lightly, 2 quick beeps. And She turned around. She didn't even move. She turned around and screamed, "What are you, an effing idiot?" So I slowly went around her, and I yelled back to, you know, get to the side of the road over I yelled. I went to the res, walked my dogs, came back, and my hood windshield was covered with horse manure. Flipped out.
That was that flaky horse manure that she has there, or was it other kind of horse manure?
It wasn't that flaky.
What was it?
It wasn't wet, fresh horse manure.
It was more like that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
not quite as dry and fluff.
Okay.
And
So what did you do?
I called the police. They came down. They
And
helped
your
me.
windshield was covered.
Yes, and where the blades are, the wipers, it was packed in there. So that night, actually, I had to go somewhere, and I put my heat on. You could hear all the horse manure in the engine spitting out at me. I mean, I was really upset about it.
How did you find her?
I went to the stable the next day.
Because you figured it was her.
Yes, and I went there and seen her with her horse and told her. She stated it was not her. She's a school teacher. She has 2 kids. She wasn't even there at the time. She doesn't have a German Shepherd dog. And then the next day I went back there to tell the property owners, you know, what people are doing. I seen the nephew, and he told me that she was there, and she does have a black dog.
Okay, so she ultimately fessed up that it was her.
Exactly.
Okay, what kind of damage was done to the car, other than the mess?
I have pictures. Would you like to see them?
Yes.
Okay. The dent's right here. It's black, so it's hard to see. It's right there. There's 2 pictures there with the dent on it. And the third one is just a side profile of the car to see the condition.
Did you get an estimate on fixing it? It's hard to see.
Yes.
Can I see
have
the
2 of
estimate,
them.
please?
Yes. In fact, I went with the lowest estimate. I tried to be so reasonable with these people.
Okay. Anything you want to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor. The reason I didn't admit that it was me the next day at the barn is because she brought her husband with her, and they both came walking at me with scowls on their face, wanting to know who this girl was. So I denied it because I was at the barn by myself. And I said, if you do find this girl, I said, what do you want from her? And they both said, almost in sync, we just want an apology. Then as the days went on, it went to $1,100 for a new hood.
$685.
It went down. There was several estimates.
That's what happens when you have estimates.
So actually, I went to the police because she was relentless to the owners of the barn, showing up, wanting my name and address. I had given her my cell phone number that day at the barn because I wanted to take it off of the owner and let her deal with me. Because I figured she would find out that it was me and I would be the one.
Okay, so you finally fessed up. Why did you go that extra step? I'm just curious, Ms.
I was
Beaton.
just very upset, and I don't know. I was sorry after I did it, but it was too late.
It's the wrong thing to do. Go ahead.
So we actually had a conference call, Your Honor, with the Wilmington Police Department to settle this because it just went on.
police report.
I'd like to see it.
It went on and on for days and maybe a week and a half, and I just want it to be over. So Officer from Wilmington Police Department.
It's the first paragraph, Your Honor.
Just a minute. Go ahead.
I had to go and file a no trespass order against Robin because she wouldn't stop going to the barn, and the owners were pressuring me to get rid of her because they were busy. They have children, and they didn't want her constantly stopping over there. So I filed a no trespass order against the barn address, not my address. And when I was at the Wilmington Police Department, he asked me if I would be interested in settling this, and I said yes. The next day, he called me at home, and we were both on the phone with Officer. And we talked, and I said, you know, I didn't damage your car. I may have put the manure on it. I did not dent your car. It's soft. I didn't do it.
Oh, but when you put the whole bag on the car in order to get it out, it dented the hood. It may have been very light stuff that was poured on it, but when all of it is in a bag and you fling it on a hood in order to spread it around, it caused a dent. Caused a dent, and you have to pay. And it was a stupid thing to do, Ms. Beaton. So you have to pay for stupidity. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $685. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
What can I say? I think it's outrageous that school teachers drive around with horsemen.
I said, I want you to listen very carefully. Put on your listening ears, Mr. Anderson.
Yes, Your Honor.
I said Miss Coe was a girlfriend of yours, correct?
Yes.
And you knew her for a long time, but got into sort of a more committed relationship around 2003. Sometime, according to you, Miss Coe, in 2005, you loaned the defendant $2,000.
Correct.
Now you want that money back.
That's right.
Mr. Anderson says, never any discussion of paying you the money back? It was a gift?
Correct.
She gave you $2,000 when, Mr. Anderson?
It was approximately September of 2005.
Were you living together at the time?
Yes, we were.
What was the money for?
Well, it was some fines that I had occurred.
What kind of fines?
Through the court system.
What kind of fines?
They were for a DUI conviction.
How much were the fines?
Approximately $900.
Did you pay any of the fines, sir?
I had paid some previously, and those were the remaining balance.
How much did you pay?
The total fines were about $2,800.
Is this the first DUI that you had had?
I had 2 within a short period of time.
That's why the fines were so high.
Yes, ma'am.
So you paid
$2,100, yes.
You paid $2,100.
The DUIs.
I assume that you have something that's going to indicate that that's not the case. I'll look at it in a minute, Ms. Coe. So why did you need the $900 from Ms. Coe?
I currently had no license, and I had to pay the fees off to acquire my license again. So I needed the money to pay off the fees to get my license to drive.
Okay.
And with the hours I was working, it was tough on Megan to get me to work and back from where we were living.
So you must have said something to her. You have to have said something to her, because otherwise she'd have to be clairvoyant to know that you needed $900.
Well, she was fully aware.
She'd have to be clairvoyant to know that you needed $900, so that had to come a point when you said to her something like, I need $900 to pay for the rest of the fines.
Well, we were in a committed relationship at the time.
I don't care if we're committed relationship. I'm talking about words, spoken words.
I understand that. So there's going to be words exchanged knowing, well, how come you're not driving? Well, I'm not driving because I
Well, that's what I want to know. Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
That's what I want to know, sir.
Yes.
I want to know what the conversation was, what you said,
yes,
and what she said.
Megan knew of my circumstances.
Don't tell me what you knew. I want to know what you said.
Okay, Megan knew because of words being exchanged to each other.
I want the words.
I had told Megan that I had received 2 DUIs in the past, and I still owed an amount of $900 that I had to pay to acquire my license.
And she said to you?
And it came to a point where she told me when I was eligible for that she would help me pay for those fines.
Now, what did you say to her?
That I said that would be great. I could use that, then I could get a car, and I could get my license.
And she said, fine.
Yes.
And that's when she gave you the $900?
That's when the $900 came into play for the fees, yes.
And what was the other money she gave you?
Apparently, she paid $1,000 for a 1983 GMC Jimmy.
What do you mean, apparently? What is that?
I've never seen a receipt or a bill of sale for it.
Well, who got the Jimmy?
I drive the Jimmy. The registration's in my name.
How did you get the car, sir?
Megan knew somebody who was selling the vehicle, and she told me that she had given the gentleman $1,000 for the 1983 Jimmy. Okay, I never saw a bill of sale.
And how did she give you the car?
He drove the car to my house. I looked at it and said, okay, not a mechanic or anything, didn't look under the hood, didn't do any of that. Looked at it, it was in, good condition for a 1983, had low miles. It's like, all right, $1,000, that's a good deal. The book value's $1,500. No, that's not a problem. So she gave me the keys, went down as soon as I could with the fees paid, and got my license and got the car registered under my name.
Okay, and that's the money?
Yes.
So it's $1,900?
Approximately $1,900, yes.
Go.
All right.
Let's start with the DUI convictions and the fees. You were dying to tell me something.
I have receipts for the payment of the fees, and it's over $900. I went and paid myself in cash, went to the courthouse for him because he had no transportation. Do you want to see them, the receipts?
No, I believe it. He says that you paid them.
Also, it was never a gift to him. It was fully intended to be a loan. I did it to help him out so he could get his license so I would not have to drive him around.
Just tell me the conversation, madam.
In September, he was eligible to get his license back. And so he was in the mix of trying to get his license back. He had these DUI fines that he needed to pay off. So I told him that I would loan him $900+ to pay off his DUI fines. And he would to pay me back in monthly payments and with his January of 2006 tax refund.
Okay, did he do that?
No.
So he didn't pay you back in January 2006. When did you and Mr. Anderson separate?
January of 2006.
Tell me how that came about.
Well, Mr. Anderson's continuous to drink excessively and black out, verbally pretty much assault me and pretty much say rude things to me. It pretty much came to the point the last night I was there that I had to sleep in front of the door so he would not leave and drink and drive again.
Okay, so the fines you paid, and what about the car? How did that come about?
He needed a car. I told him that I would loan him $1,000, and he had to pay me back the same way as the DUI fines.
How did you find the car?
My friend was selling his GMC Jimmy. It was $1,000. I asked him if I could buy it from him for Ryan, and he said yes.
And you gave him a check?
I gave him the check.
And he gave you the keys?
He gave me the keys and the title.
And the title. And then you drove it home, or did he drive it home?
Nathan drove it home. The owner.
And where was Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Anderson was at the apartment.
Okay. Tell me what happened when you drove up.
I was like, here's the GMC Jimmy. What do you think of it? I think it's a great car for $1,000. I don't think you're going to be able to find something better for $1,000. And he agreed with me.
That's pretty much what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Was he working?
Yes, working full-time.
Just a second. September, October, November, December, he was working full-time. He now had a car.
Right.
How much of this $1,900 did he pay back to you?
Zero.
That's because it wasn't a loan. That's because it became a loan when you decided it was over. Because if it was a loan, he would have paid you $50 a month, $60 a month, $100 a month, $25 a week. He would have paid you back something between September and January.
He made excuses as to why he could not pay me back. He couldn't afford going to school.
Then you should have thrown him out. What you did with the car was you spent $1,000 on a car, and then you came home and surprised him. That's what you did. You didn't take him to buy the car. You didn't show him the car before you purchased it. You purchased a car for $1,000, and you came home and said, I got you wheels so that you could drive yourself to and from your job so that I don't have to do it anymore. And if the romance hadn't been over, he wouldn't have paid you back anything.
We continued to have conversations after January of 2006. On the telephone. I have a witness hearing me speak to him. I have a letter stating all the information from the maker of the transactions I did, having conversations with him, making payments.
And B, he's going to testify as to what you said to him on the telephone?
As into the payment arrangements that we have discussed payments on the phone, and he makes excuses every time why he cannot make a payment to me. He was supposed to also pay me with tuition reimbursements from his work. He always made an excuse. He had other bills to pay, so forth and so forth. And that is why I took it to small claims.
A year and a half later, a year and a half after you laid out $1,900.
Well, I told him that he had the chance to pay me at after a quarter of a year, then I would take him to small claims.
After the romance is over, madam, is not the time to say now you have 3 months or 4 months or 5 months. I mean, I'm sympathetic with you, but you were in love with the guy and you thought your relationship was going someplace and you wanted him to have the means to get to work.
So because I did him a favor, I shouldn't get paid back a loan that we agreed. We had a verbal agreement.
Listen, I have to make a judgment as to whether or not you, who are sharing a home and having an intimate relationship with somebody, has said to them, this is a loan. You will pay me back in January out of your income tax returns. This is a loan. I am giving you $1,000 towards a car, but you go and buy the car, purchase the car, you come back, you show him the car, and give him the keys. That's not a loan for a car. So, Ms. Cole, what I'm telling you is, I have to make a judgment. I'm sympathetic with you. I'm sympathetic with you. You're out $1,900, and if he had any moral fiber, he would pay you back. But if you gave him this money in September, and from September to January, he was working full-time and made absolutely no attempt to pay you back a nickel, not $5, and you tolerated that, I have to assume it was not a loan. Period. Your case is dismissed. That's all. Vito, which of these two young men is your son?
Anthony, the first one.
How old are you, Anthony?
16.
How tall are you?
6'1".
What do you feed him?
Pasta.
Pasta? Which one of these two young men is
Sean.
am I going to grill today?
Sean.
Ms. Betancourt, and this is your son, whose name is Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Vito, it is your complaint that Ms. Betancourt's son drove your son's dirt bike without permission, got into an accident, and damaged the bike. You believe Mrs. Betancourt should be responsible for fixing the bike. Ms. Betancourt said that her son did have permission to ride the bike, that he was injured, that you're just lucky she's not suing you for the injuries because he broke an ankle. Is that right?
Yeah.
And your son gave her son permission to ride the bike, so that's it. Shouldn't be here. Anthony.
Yes.
Anthony, when were you riding the bike when it was running? What date was the last date before this incident? You have to look down at a piece of paper?
No.
What date?
May 8th.
And where were you on May 8th?
We were at a track in Brockton. riding.
And is it a track where they just have dirt bikes?
Yes.
Who was there?
Myself, Nick.
You have to speak up. You hear I'm speaking? I'm projecting. You can hear me, right?
Myself, Nick, and Dennis.
Dennis, that would be you.
Yes, Your Honor.
But Sean wasn't there.
No.
This was after school, or there was no school on that day?
It was after school.
What time?
About like 3:30 to 5:30.
Okay. Now, you're going to tell me what happened.
Myself, Nick, and Dennis were riding. My bike wasn't working right, so we drove it to my other friend's house. I tried fixing it, but it didn't work, and Sean asked to ride it.
Okay. Now, Sean was at your other friend's house?
Yes.
They were just hanging out?
Yes.
So far, are we correct, Sean?
Yes.
So up to this point, our stories are in sync, right? Sean asked if he could ride the bike.
Yes, and me and Nick said no, and I was putting the tools away, and he got on the bike and with no helmet and just left.
Why did you say no?
Because the bike wasn't working properly.
Is that the reason you left the track?
Yes.
Did you have a bike with you that day?
No, Your Honor.
Did you have a bike with you that day?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had your own bike?
Yes.
He's petrified. All right, so he got on the bike without a helmet and took off. Go ahead.
About 5 minutes after I saw him, I tried waving him over, and he kept going.
Well, what was he going around in a circle?
Yeah, like he went around the block. I saw him, I waved him over. He didn't come over. And about 10 minutes later, he came back with a broken ankle.
By the way, state of Massachusetts, are you required to ride with a helmet?
Yes.
You're also 16, Sean?
17.
17? So you're older than he is?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I start eating more pasta.
I don't like pasta.
Okay, let me hear your version. You're at your friend's house. He comes by with his bike. Go ahead.
He came by with his bike. They were fixing it. Dennis rode the bike.
Talk back. Came by and they were fixing it.
Yes.
Were you outside when they were fixing it?
No, I shut up there. I got out after they were done fixing it, and I came out and...
Well, how did you know they were fixing it?
Because they told me that after.
After what?
I crashed.
After the crash?
Yeah.
Not before?
No.
So you showed up after they had been fooling around with the bike?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then Dennis was riding it, and then when he stopped riding it, I asked if I could ride it. He said no. I asked him again. He said no, and then I just hopped on the bike and rode it. Because I rode it again, so I didn't really think it was a big deal.
Did you tell that to your mother?
No.
No, ma'am.
He didn't tell that to you?
No, ma'am.
He had an epiphany here. Right?
Yeah.
Sean, you had an epiphany here, right? You know what that word means? Change of heart. You had an enlightenment. So this is the first time your mother's hearing that he said, no, you can't ride the bike. Now, do you think that if your mother knew that you didn't have permission to ride this bike, that we would be here today? You stole the bike, right? If you ask the owner of a bike, a car, something, can I use your vehicle? And they say, no, you can't use it. Oh, I'm going to use it anyway. Go get rid of your tools. While you're getting rid of your tools, I'll get on the bike and ride it. Sean, what do you have to say for yourself?
I don't know.
Miss Betancourt, you changed your mind? Your son rode the bike without permission. He actually stole it. He was told he couldn't drive it. You think he's responsible for the damage he caused?
But, Your Honor, I also have medical bills that my insurance is not covering.
Well, let me ask you this question, Miss Betancourt. Let's say your son was walking down the street on his way home, and he saw a red Corvette convertible. And he got into the car, because the keys were there, got into the car, and he took off with the car. And he crashed it. And he got hurt. You think that the owner of that car would be responsible for your medical bills?
No, but also what I didn't finish is that what they're charging me, they're also charging me for part that was fixed that had nothing to do with the accident. And Dennis is the one who took the bike to the shop. And some of the chains and the stuff was worn out during all the periods that they were riding the bikes. So it had nothing to do with the accident.
Well, how much do you believe you are responsible for of the bills that they had?
If we take that out, it would be $355.78.
How much did it cost you to fix the bike?
$631.10.
But the bike wasn't working before he got on the bike properly.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So it was going to have to go in to be fixed, because the reason you didn't want him to ride the bike is because it wasn't working properly.
Yes.
So at least part of that $631 that it cost you to fix the bike was as a result of wear and tear on the bike, or something that had absolutely no relation to the accident. So what has to do with the accident, Anthony?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know, she knows. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $355.78. Good. Truth will out. Aren't you glad I didn't have to call on you?
No.
That's all. Thank you. The arrangement was that you would give him your half of the rent check, he would put in his half of the rent and pay the landlord. But according to you, you gave him your half of the rent for October of 2006. You had an argument somewhere at the beginning of October where you called the police and had him removed from the house. And he left. He left and he closed the bank account on which this check was drawn, so the check bounced. You remained in the apartment and were forced, according to you, to pay the entire rent, including his half of the rent. Mr. Peterson says, through really no fault of his own, you weren't getting along, you'd had an argument, you went to the police, you had him removed, he wasn't living there, he doesn't have to pay rent, right?
That's right.
So, Ms. Davis, when did you move in together?
May of 05.
And when did this incident occur, October of 06?
Yes.
What day in October?
October 9th, I believe.
Is that right?
That's wrong.
What date?
October 6th.
Now, Ms. Davis, you're going to tell me exactly what happened on October the 6th.
On October the 6th, Mr. Peterson went out to my car without my permission, went into my car, grabbed a pack of cigarettes out of my car for himself and one for me as well. I did not ask him to do this. He did not have permission to go out to my car. When he came back and I discovered that he had taken a pack for himself as well, I was a little upset. And I confronted him on it and he lied to me.
What did you say?
I asked him if he had taken the pack, why he had taken it without asking me. And he said that he never took a pack and called me a liar. When I confronted him on it and he lied to me yet again, I got upset and basically told him I was done with the lies in the relationship. And when I told him I was done with the relationship, he didn't take that kindly. He said he was not going to give up on the relationship, that he was not going to leave, he wasn't going to give up on us. And when I told him that he did not have a choice, because I was done, he started punching himself in the face.
Show me how he did that.
He was pacing back and forth in the room that we were talking in and just started pounding on himself.
So?
I got scared and I went over to my friend's house.
Okay, he didn't touch you, he didn't put his hands on you?
No.
Okay, so you left and you went to your friend's house?
Yes.
And?
And the next morning, I was afraid to go home, so I went to the police.
What'd you go to the police for? To take you home?
I did not feel safe to go home with the state of mind that he was in.
Okay, so what did you want the police to do?
To remove him.
Why?
So that I could go home.
Well, it was his home too.
But I was not safe in my own home.
But it was his home.
It was his home too, yes.
So if you're not safe, he hasn't done anything to threaten you. He hasn't done anything to harm you. He hasn't put his hands on you. If anything, he was, according to you, he was hurting himself. He was acting, you know, in a self-destructive way. So if you felt unsafe because you didn't like his mental state, why didn't you just leave?
I didn't feel I should have to pack up everything in the apartment that was mine and leave because he was unstable.
Can I see what you told the police, please?
I filed for an order of protection. I didn't have a police report.
What did you say in the report that gave you an order of protection?
I told them exactly what happened.
No, I can't believe anybody issued you an order of protection based on that. Oh, you lied.
No.
Oh, yes, you did.
No.
You said to the police the reason that you were coming to ask for assistance is because he physically threatened you by raising an object over his head to throw it at you and yelled and screamed and called her names.
He had done this prior to this date.
Evicted from the house. You had reason to leave yourself if you wanted to leave, but you had no reason to force him out of the house. None whatsoever. Okay. Mr. Peterson, you want to tell me your version of the events? What happened? First of all, I don't understand this business about going out. You live together, you're sharing a house, you're sharing a bedroom, you have an intimate relationship, and she gets upset because you went out and took 2 packs of cigarettes instead of 1. Did you go out to the car to get a pack of cigarettes for her?
I went out to the car to grab a pack of cigarettes for her. I asked her that night, and she said yes.
He'd never
No, don't speak now. Don't speak. You have to be quiet. Because it's his turn to testify. Did you see how quiet he was when you were testifying? Now it's his turn.
I asked her permission the night before to grab a pack of cigarettes.
Are you on some sort of medication? Listen to me, Miss Davis. Are you on medication?
No.
Then I can speak to you frankly. I've said it once. When you were testifying, he was quiet. He didn't interrupt. Now it's your turn to be quiet and allow me to take his testimony. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Good.
The night before, I did ask permission to go to her car and get a pack of cigarettes for myself. She was okay with that.
I don't understand why there was this whole big hullabaloo because of the cigarettes, so it must have been something else fomenting in the relationship for a while.
It was because I was also unemployed for at least 3 weeks, and she
was annoyed because you weren't working and weren't buying the cigarettes.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay. So what happened when you came inside, Mr. Peterson?
What happened was I came inside. I went to try to get into my bedroom. She had the master bedroom door blocked. I don't know why she had it all blocked, but after an hour and a half, 2 hours later, she had the door open. There was this mysterious odor in the air, as if she was smoking something funky.
Mr. Peterson, did you at any time on the 6th of October threaten Miss Davis?
No.
Did you at any time on the 6th of October pick up an object to throw at her?
No.
Had that ever happened in the past?
No.
Did she give you her half of the rent?
Yes, she did.
For October?
Yes, she did.
And you didn't pay any of the rent?
I did pay the rent. I had my half in my checking account. She gave me her half. When I closed out my checking account, I made sure that all the money was still in the account.
Okay. How much out of pocket are you, Miss Davis?
I'm out $914.
From what?
I gave him $467, plus his half of the rent, plus the late fees and the non-sufficient
His half of the rent he's not giving
He's
you.
still on the lease.
I don't care whether he's still on the lease. You threw him out of the house without just cause. You threw him out by lying to the police. And you're not being, listen to me, and you're not being rewarded for that. If you felt unsafe about going back to your home because you felt as if he wasn't acting in an appropriate way, then you go stay with your friend, you stay with your family, you find a new apartment. But you don't lie to the police and have him thrown out. So you're not getting his half of the rent. Period. The money that you gave him, that he is responsible for if you didn't get it back. Now, so my question is, did you get that money back?
I have not seen any money from him.
So how much was his half of the rent?
$363.
And you gave him $467
I gave him $467.
Why would you give him $467 if his half was $363?
Part of it was supposed to go toward another bill that did not get paid as well.
What bill?
A credit card bill.
Okay, well, then that's what he owes you, $467, not $900. You had no right to throw him out of the apartment, and you absolutely didn't have any right to lie to the police. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $467. That's
Do
all.
I get
Thank
the
you.
late fees or anything like that?
Absolutely not, madam. You had no right to throw him out of the apartment. None. Zero.
He could have said something, and so I could have covered the rest of the rent before it was late.
He could have said a lot of things. You also should not have gone to the police and perjured yourself. That's all. Responsible for a fire in your home that resulted in damage. Some of the damage was covered by insurance, but a great deal of it was not covered by insurance, and you want him to pay the balance.
That's correct.
Your out-of-pocket expenses. Mr. Alfter? Is that the way you pronounce your name?
Yes, ma'am.
You look petrified. Are you scared of me?
No.
You should be.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mr. Alfter says that your homeowner's insurance should have covered whatever losses there were. He wasn't doing anything wrong, and it was just an accident. That's your defense.
Yes.
Your Honor, I disagree.
Just. How old are you, sir?
20.
When did you move out of your home?
I've been on my own since I was about 18.
And how have you been taking care of yourself?
I work.
For whom?
Family business.
What kind of business?
Construction. Do concrete work.
Whose business is it?
It's my grandfather's.
Who else works there?
The crew, my dad, my brothers.
So it's a big business?
Yeah.
It's a lucrative business?
Yeah.
How much? Yes, try yes.
Yes.
How much do you get paid?
$30 an hour.
And you work 7 days a week, 6 days a week, 5 days a week?
40-hour weeks.
So you've got money in the bank?
I'm all right.
What?
Said I'm all right. Yes.
You have a car?
Yes.
Shape? Do you work out?
Yes.
You work out at home or in a gym?
The gym.
You have a gym membership?
Yes.
I ask you all these questions, sir, because I'm trying to find out a little bit about you. Because this complaint says, Mr. Alfter, that the fire that started in Miss Prieto's house, on what date?
September the 12th.
On what date did he move into the house?
He moved in July 1st.
Was started because in your bedroom, right?
In master bedroom, correct.
People usually sleep in the master bedroom, right?
Yes.
How many bedrooms were there in the house?
5.
How many people were living in the house?
Just 2.
You and who else?
Me and my roommate.
Male or female?
Male.
So that those were 2 bedrooms. You don't spend the night with your roommate, right? You each have your own bedroom, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But I guess you didn't want you or your roommate to get the master bedrooms because then it would be unequal, so that you each stayed in other bedrooms.
Yes.
And you were using your master bedroom to grow marijuana. You actually hadn't brought in the plants yet, according to the complaint and the answer, but it was all set up with a whole bunch of lights, right?
Yes, there's equipment.
I mean, you weren't planning on shooting a film in there, were you?
No.
You were going to grow marijuana.
Yes.
What were you going to do with it when you grew it?
Well, I have anxiety, and I was going to try to get my card, cannabis card.
You have anxiety?
Yeah.
You ain't seen nothing yet. Your parents are alive?
Yes.
Did they know you were coming here today?
Yes.
Did they know that 10 million people were going to be watching you today?
Yes.
Did they offer you any warning, sir?
Yes.
And I know that it's not relevant to the case, but I, because I am a mother, would like to know what your parents said to you.
They told me I better learn my lesson.
Both of them?
Yes.
Sounds like my kind of people. Who do you expect to pay for these damages that weren't covered by Miss Prieto's insurance as a result of your lunacy in trying to start a marijuana farm in her house?
Myself.
Right. So why didn't you just pay her, sir? Why did you force her to come here? You know, I mean, I know that she looks lovely and she appears to be a very nice lady, but why didn't you just say, I'm really sorry, I acted like an idiot, I'm 20 years old, I'm not fully grown up yet. You know, just help me out here. It'll never happen again. I'm going to cut my hair so I can see. You know, all of those things.
The sum amount that she wanted was pretty high. I thought the insurance would have covered it, but I was going to pay the deductible.
Yeah, but the insurance company didn't, for instance, pay for all the landscaping around the house that was singed.
But when I moved in the house, the land or the landscaping wasn't too caught up.
May not have been too caught up. What about the fact that she didn't have the use of her house for a while?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, no, that's my fault.
So who should pay for that?
Myself.
Yes, ma'am. Can I see the bills, please?
Sure.
Oh.
And I have pictures also.
Should have listened to your parents, Mr. After. Father's a pretty tough guy?
Yeah.
Are you using your real name today, sir?
Yes.
Is your father's last name the same as yours?
Yes.
Look what you did to her house. Bird, look what he did to her house. You planned on smoking an awful lot of weed, sir, for your anxiety. Why don't you go to a therapist?
I don't know.
Well, I would try a therapist before I would start farming again. Who helped you with all this, sir?
I did it myself.
What about your roommate?
No, well, he helped a little bit.
Was he going to be your partner?
No.
What does he do for a living?
He works.
For whom?
He does construction, too.
For your father?
No. No.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Please.
Okay, as far as all that equipment he purchased, and it was worth over supposedly $6 grand, and he didn't have money to pay the rent. So he had money to go out there and buy all that, plus, you know, start his little lab thing. But on the other hand, he's making $30 an hour, and he could have just stepped up to the plate and said, I'm going to pay you. Even payments. I said, can you make payments? And he's like, yeah, I will. Never followed through.
He's very anxious because he's not smart. And unless he gets smarter, he's going to remain anxious. Mm-hmm. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Say sorry.
Sorry.
Not to me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, that's all.
Toyota Corolla 2006.
Who bought it for you?
I did, with my dad as a co-signer.
Who is this?
He's my witness.
Well, what is he a witness to?
He works with me at Sears, and he's witness because Nicole talked to him several times telling him that she was going to help me with the damage of my car when the accident.
That's your witness. Right. I just wanted to know what he could possibly say. Now I got it. Now, did your father work?
Yes.
I ask you all of these questions because this is the scenario that I got. You had to deliver a car to a sister of yours who lived someplace else. So you asked the defendant, do me a favor, follow me in my sister's car. I'm going to drive my new car. And then when we drop my sister's car off, we'll drive home together.
Right.
So you asked her to do you a favor. She did. You were both very tired or whatever. Did you go to a party the night at your sister's house? Is that right?
The night before the accident.
Yes. You went to a party. You both stayed up late after you had delivered the sister's car.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And when you got into your car, you said to Miss
Almengor,
would you do me a favor? I'm tired. Would you drive? Because I don't feel like driving home. And she did.
Right.
And she had an accident in your brand new car.
Right.
And you want her to pay for half the damage.
Right.
And she says she had an accident. You should have had insurance. And you had a brand new car with no insurance. How do you have a new car with no insurance when you have a loan?
Well, the car in the month when I got my car was on July 12th. They gave me a month with the dealer to have insurance, and afterwards my dad was going to add my car to his policy. So they took pictures of my car on August 26th. So the insurance was in process, which I thought...
Just a second. July 12th you bought the car.
Right.
The dealer had insurance for 1 month. That's August 12th.
Right.
There's a big gap here between August 12th and August 26th. What were you doing, in hibernation? You were sleeping? No question. From August 12th to August 26th at least, when they were going to take pictures, you had no insurance. They were giving you insurance for a month so that you could get it all in place in the month. You waited until it was all over to get insurance?
It was in the process of getting the insurance.
You had no insurance. That's your fault. If you had insurance, they would have covered whatever damage you had to the car.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's your fault.
Yes, it's my fault. I know that, and I accept the responsibility, but it was in the process. My dad was going to add it to his policy.
So is it your fault or your father's fault?
It's my fault in the first place.
It's your fault in the first place? Then you got to pay for the damage.
But she was driving my car.
She was doing you a favor. She had an accident. She didn't have it on purpose.
I asked her to slow down.
You asked her to drive your car.
Yes, and I asked her to slow down because I knew how traffic was going to get, and she didn't.
I don't believe that for a second. You asked her to slow down because you knew the traffic was going to get bad, so you asked her to slow down?
I asked her to slow down because she was driving too fast.
I don't believe you. I didn't even ask her, and I don't believe you.
Well, I got the police report and the pictures of the damage of the car.
I believe your car was damaged. I believe she was in an accident. I know that if you had had proper insurance on your car, the insurance would have paid for the accident. She wasn't being reckless. You asked her to drive. Why didn't you drive home?
I asked her, is she mine? She said no.
That's not why didn't you drive your car home?
Because I wanted to rest. I was tired.
So you wanted to rest or you were tired? Did you go to sleep in the long ride home?
No, I didn't.
You mean you kept your eyes open?
Yes.
And you should have driven. Listen, when you're very tired, everybody knows if you're really tired and you get into a car and you've been up partying the night before and somebody else is driving, you're out. As soon as that hum starts to go, I'm getting tired as I'm telling the story.
I just think it's just fair for her to help me with half, because if it would have been me driving her car and getting on the accident, she would expect me to pay with half.
She may. I think you and your father ought to split it. She was in an accident. Accidents happen. Your father is older than you are. He should have made sure that if he co-signed for a car for you, that car had insurance.
We don't live together. I don't live with my father.
I don't care whether you live with him or not. It doesn't matter whether you live with your father or not. Your father chose to co-sign for a car for you, 22 years old, hardly old enough to be out of the house on their own. And if he chose to co-sign for a car for you, he should have had the brains to make sure it had insurance. Tell me about the accident.
Well, on the way back to Bakersfield, we were involved in an accident. It was more of a freeway accident, and I was driving her car, and when the accident happened, the airbags came out.
How did the accident happen?
While we were driving...
Not we, you were driving.
Well, while I was driving, there was cars in front of us started slowing down and swerving out the way. I guess there was an accident in front of us, and I also tried to swerve out the way, but in the rearview mirror I could see cars coming behind us, and we hit the car in front of us.
Not we, you.
Or I hit the car in front of us.
How many cars were involved in the accident?
It was just one other car and myself.
So the other cars managed to avoid hitting each other?
Yes.
But not you?
No.
Had you been drinking that morning?
No.
Okay, you weren't sleeping at the wheel, were you?
No.
How fast were you going? Do you remember?
I was going the speed limit. I wasn't speeding at all.
Excuse me, Your Honor, she's lying. She wasn't going the speed limit because if she would have been going the speed limit, she would have had enough time to brake.
I actually was going the speed limit.
Listen, I don't have any proof whether she was or whether she wasn't. Whether she was...
I have the police report. It says on the police report.
That what?
That it was her fault because of speed.
Let me see the police report.
There was nowhere in the police report that I admitted to speeding at all.
I just want to read the police report. Both cars involved in the accident were traveling at about the same rate of speed. And these are all approximates, according to the police. One car was going 65 miles an hour. One car was going 70 miles an hour. Both cars acknowledged, both the one that she hit and the other car acknowledged that traffic started to slow down ahead of them, and it was an accident. There's no indication here that she was driving at an excessive rate of speed. I'm sorry, Miss Ayala, the responsibility is yours. If you have a brand new car, you're supposed to make sure that that brand new car is covered by insurance so that if you have an accident, the insurance company pays for it. And if you're not able to drive home, not able because you were up late partying, you wait another day. You wait another 6 hours before you go home and you drive your own car home. You know, you have to be grown-up if you're going to drive a brand-new car. If you're going to drive any car, you have to be a grown-up. And you have to take steps to ensure that if you have an accident, fortunately, no one was seriously injured in this accident. But I'm going to tell you something. If somebody was seriously injured in the accident, the driver ahead of you, you and your father would lose your house because you're driving an uninsured car. So not only don't you have collision, you don't have liability. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, now you understand it. You get it. Case is dismissed, that's all. And this is your soon-to-be ex-daughter-in-law. It is your claim that while she and your son were living in your home, you made a series of loans to her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Corville says that you made gifts to her because she was the only one working in her family. Your son wasn't working, so she needed some car payments made in order to get her back and forth to work, and some insurance payments made on the car. I have a few questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
25.
What do you do for a living?
I'm unemployed at the moment.
How long have you been unemployed?
For not that long, because I had a job January 1st whenever I had put her out.
Listen to me. Listen to me. How long have you been unemployed?
Since January 1st.
Of 2007?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to January 1st, 2007, your mother says that you weren't working a good part of the time.
Ma'am.
That's what your mother says.
Yes,
Is she lying?
That's true. No, ma'am, that's true.
How long did you have the January job?
Not long, because I didn't even
Just
go
don't tell me because.
No, ma'am, I hadn't gone offshore. It was an offshore job, and I didn't have a ride to go offshore. That's why I didn't have that job. I hadn't
So
even
you
worked
didn't
one
have
day.
a job?
I had the job. I got hired.
When was the last time that you got a paycheck, Mr.
I
Corville?
didn't get a paycheck from them because I never worked one day
Mr.
because
Corville,
I
I
didn't have
want
a
you to
ride.
listen to, put on your listening ear, sir.
Okay.
When was the last time, month and year, that you had a paycheck? Think hard.
2006, and I can't give you the exact month.
Well, give me close to the
Okay.
exact month.
About the 10th month, or maybe even the 9th.
What would that be, the 9th month?
The 9th month
Yeah.
is September. Took me a while.
Good. September. Now, in August, who did you work for?
Pizza Hut.
Doing what?
Delivery driver.
How long did that last?
Not long.
Why?
Because I was told I couldn't use the car to do it no more. I was putting wear and tear on our car.
Your Honor, that was our car at the time. I was a manager at Pizza Hut.
Listen, you know what kind of sympathy I have for you? Zero. You picked him. And not only did you pick him, but you picked him, and you have a child.
Not with me.
I know that.
Okay. I was just clarifying it.
You know, put your hand down. Sometimes it's better to be alone. Sometimes the loneliest you can be is when you're with somebody.
Yep.
Your son, who is without a job, moves in with you, with his wife and her child.
Yes, ma'am.
How old was he when he left home?
He's been in and out of home since he's 12 years old.
In and out of your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how did you feel about it when he told you he was getting married?
Didn't know the girl long enough.
But she has a job, right?
Yeah, at the time she did have a job, yes, ma'am.
Now, your son had no job at the time.
At the time? Yeah.
At the time?
At the time he did have a job.
Doing what?
He did sheet metal.
What happened to that job?
He had differences with the guy.
Yeah, the guy fired me because I asked for a raise.
And what did he say when you asked him for a raise?
He told me he didn't feel that I deserved it, and if I felt like I really needed it, I could go look for a job elsewhere because I no longer had one with him.
No, that's not what he said.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
said, I don't feel as if you deserve it. If you feel as if you deserve more, go elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, he didn't say that you can't have a job with him. He said, go elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you went, where'd you go?
To Pizza Hut.
Was that paying more than your sheet metal job?
Yes, ma'am.
Nah.
With the tips, yes,
No.
ma'am. Okay.
Now, tell me about this first loan. After they got married, they moved in with you because he's not working, right?
Yes, Shauna.
Were they paying rent in your house?
Not at the beginning, no.
Were they paying rent later?
When the second go around, they were going to pay rent. They moved in twice last year.
Fine. Well, the second time they moved in, did they pay rent?
1 month.
How much?
$150.
And who paid the rent?
My son.
What was he doing?
He was working for
Trim.
Newcom.
Yeah.
What happened to that job?
We had went and we had a court date for me and her both to attend to, and we asked the
What kind of court date?
I don't really remember, to be honest with you.
You had a court date and you don't remember?
Yes,
What kind of
ma'am.
court date did you have?
It was actually court for his paternity test.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing to do with me.
But
For
we
a
left.
quiet. For a paternity test for what?
His second child.
He has children?
Yes, ma'am.
Wunderbar.
He has two, one for two different women.
Now, how much money in total did you give Miss Corville?
$958.
Tell me what it was for.
In January.
January of what?
Of 2006. She bought a car with her income tax. Didn't have money for the insurance, so I loaned her $200.
Just a second. Tell me about what she didn't have money for the insurance, and she said to you
she would pay me back.
Did you have that discussion with her or with your son?
With her.
Tell me about the discussion.
She said that she would help us, give us the money because of the fact he was out of work, and she didn't want to see us without a car because if we didn't have a car, we were unable to work.
Was he
And that she
working?
said-
Was he working at the time?
No, ma'am.
Did you subsequently get a job, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you did. Good. Where did you get a job?
That's whenever I went to the electrical company.
And how did you get to the electrical company?
She had brought me a few occasions.
Who did?
Miss Jennifer.
Your wife?
My wife, yes, ma'am.
What's next?
In May, she called me at work crying because she had a payday loan that she had taken before they were married, crying because she was going to get arrested. Could she please borrow some money?
Is that right?
It is.
Good. How much was that?
$305.
80.
That you owe her. Go ahead.
Then in September the 19th, their ABC insurance canceled. So they had to find new insurance.
They had to find new insurance?
She had to find new insurance.
Where were you working? You told me you were working in September, sir.
Yes, ma'am. That's whenever we were both working at Newcom.
Oh, okay, so you were both working?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were using her car to get there?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, good. Perfect.
So I paid her down payment for $155.
That's
for
fine.
the Geico.
That ensures that your son is working.
She was short $100 because they both lost their jobs. She was short $100, so to keep her car, I put the $100 difference in pay that she would pay me back when she'd find another job.
Why'd you get him to pay you some money?
It wasn't his car.
He was using it. They were a married couple.
No,
listen. Miss Corville.
I had lost
your son
3
put her
jobs.
out of the house when?
January 1st, 2007. Why? Because
What is my question?
I couldn't use the car to go find a job, nothing. She had stopped letting me use the car, everything. That was her
Really?
car.
And you had been using the car to go and look for a job?
No, ma'am.
Well, you
hadn't
said she
let me.
stopped.
Yeah,
let you
like
use
she
it.
hadn't let me. And within 3 months since we had been back over there, I had got a job and went to Houma. That was the only time.
So that's why you threw her out?
Yes, ma'am, because I was supposed to be leaving to go offshore and she wouldn't bring me.
Go ahead.
He didn't get a job in Houma. He actually went to Houma to get a job. He failed his drug test, and he was unable to work offshore. So he actually didn't
What
work.
kind of drugs were you taking that you failed the drug test?
None.
You mean that the test was a mistake?
No, ma'am, I was going offshore.
So you didn't fail the drug
No,
test?
ma'am.
Would you like to take one today?
Doesn't matter.
She owes you for the payday loan. That she owes you for. For the car, consider it a contribution to your son. Do you understand?
Yes, Shauna.
Good. Judge 30580. That's all. Thank you very much. Car, Miss Insulin said that she would take over the lease payments on the car. She did. You broke up. She took the car with her. She drove the car for a considerable period of time. The lease was about to be up. The payoff was too much. She said, you can have the car back. I don't want it. You were forced to pay the payout on the lease, which, according to your complaint, was about $5,000. Miss Insulin says it was your car. It's your problem. That's your defense.
Yes.
When was the car leased?
October 6th of 2001, and it was leased by myself and Aaron.
Okay, and how long did you drive the car together?
Until, I believe, February of '04. Aaron had found employment, and basically we agreed that I would get another car in my name, and Aaron would take over the Eclipse and make the payments.
And you did that?
Yes.
For how long?
The lease was up 2006, October. I called him a few times a couple months before saying that I couldn't afford the car. It was really breaking me. So obviously there was no way I was going to be able to pay it off. And he just refused to take it off of me.
Well, but you had an agreement with him, Miss Enslin.
Yeah, as long as I'm driving the car, I'll pay for it.
There were times where I called him and said, I don't want it. I don't want to drive it. It was never discussed of bringing back the lease and me paying it off.
Well, what did you expect
I'm not even
to happen?
on the lease.
Miss Enslin.
I'm a co-signer for the loan.
Correct.
I'm not on the title of the car. It's
But
not
you
my
are
car.
co-signer on the loan, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, you had this car in total how long, sir?
The full lease, 5 years between the two of us. Erin had said that she had no intention of keeping the car yet.
I believe she had intention of keeping the car as long as it was just like a lease. I'm speaking, Mr. Mooney. I believe that she had the intention of keeping the car and paying for it until it was no longer advantageous for her. You have a car now, Miss Enslin?
Do I have a car?
That's my question. Do you have a car now?
Yes, I have a car now.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Dodge Spirit.
What year?
94.
Where did you get it from?
My parents.
Your parents gave it to you as a gift?
Yes.
When did they give it to you as a gift?
The October of last year.
So at about the same time that you said, I can't afford these payments anymore?
At the same time the lease was up for his car.
The same time the lease was up on a car on which you were a co-signatory?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Can I please see the payout?
This didn't become an issue until there was damage to the car, and basically she'd gone over on the mileage.
How was the car damaged? Miss Enslin, you don't know. How was the car damaged?
There's a scrape on the side of the car.
How did it happen?
I hit something with it.
Why didn't you fix it?
Because it happened right before the lease was up. And his girlfriend at the time was actually looking into buying it, and her dad owned a garage, so there was a point where we thought that they were going to fix it and buy it and just take it off of whatever she paid for it.
Who do you live with?
My boyfriend.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an assistant.
Assistant what?
Assistant to a businessman.
What kind of business?
He owns a small production company.
You mean theatrical?
No, music.
And what does your boyfriend do, Miss Enslin?
He's a writer.
And what do your parents do?
My mom works in a factory. She's an accountant. And my dad fixes the roads and works for the township.
How old are you, Miss Enslin?
25.
You have to grow up and stop being a baby. If you have a responsibility, you're supposed to take care of the responsibility. You're not supposed to stick somebody else with your responsibilities. You were going to assume the responsibility on the car until you decided it was too expensive a proposition for you to take it over after the lease. So what? You relied on your parents to treat your car so you could get to and from work and not have to take care of this responsibility. You have to grow up, madam. Beauty fades, dumb is forever. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. The apartment lived together during the course of that lease. The lease was renewed, according to you, for another 6 months, and Mr. Fenimore moved out after a month or so. You want him to be responsible for his half of the remainder of the lease. Mr. Fenimore, while he acknowledges that you signed an initial lease together, his defense is that he did not sign the renewal that you must have signed for him. You knew that he was intending to leave, that things weren't going well between the two of you, and he is not responsible for the second part of the lease. So can I see the first lease that you signed? When did you move in together?
It was, I believe, December 2004.
Well, the lease was signed November 2005.
I think it was 2004. I'm not real correct on that.
Well, what am I looking at? November 29, 2005. What?
That's probably our renewal lease.
I didn't ask for the renewal. I asked for the original lease.
This isn't the actual lease, but it's part of the first lease that has the 12/8/04 date that Spencer was speaking of.
Can I see it, please? Yeah. Okay. So the original was signed on 12/8/04, and you claim the renewal was signed by him on November 29th, 2005.
That's correct.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you sign the renewal?
Yes.
You said in your answer you didn't sign the renewal.
I signed the renewal that went from November 2005 until May 2006. She's suing me from May 2006 to November 2006.
Got it. So who has that renewal?
The one that I handed to you shows that we went in the office and verbally renewed, and I have a letter from the office dated June 1st.
You can't verbally renew. Cannot verbally renew a 6-month lease. That's ridiculous. He says he did not renew the lease. You have no proof that he did renew the lease.
If he didn't want to renew the lease, Your Honor, he shouldn't have stayed there till July.
Because then you can have a month-to-month tenancy.
Okay.
You can have a month-to-month tenancy and pay every month until the landlord says, listen, I don't want to give you a month-to-month tenancy anymore. You have to leave within 30 days. Then you leave.
Right.
But you can't obligate him. Sorry, case is dismissed. That I have some familiarity with the kind of business that you're in. Do you want to explain it to Bert, or would you like me to do it?
The nature of the business?
Yes.
Essentially, I have my friend Ronald here who has been in the business for 12 years, and he...
Ronald doesn't have to explain it.
Okay.
I'm going to, in very simplistic terms, explain it to Bert. You tell me if I'm wrong.
All right.
Simple. You have this vitamin bottle, because that's what they sell, vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronald, that's this guy over here, he's been in the business 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
He sometimes sells these vitamins. But what he does mostly is get other people under him who sell vitamins. And depending upon at what level they buy in, they could buy in with $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, they get product. He brings him in. Mr. Sincere over here buys $5,000 worth of product. He gets a piece of that.
Sure.
So it's like slavery, you know. What you do is he brings in, what's your first name?
Damien.
He brings in a lot of Damiens. Damien 1, Damien 2, Damien 3, Damien 4. And whatever Damien orders from the business, not sells, but orders from the business, Ronald gets a piece of.
Multi-level marketing.
Correct. Now, so then it inures to Damien 1 through 5. They say, listen, we want to be Ronald too.
Of course.
So we're going to see if we can get, what's your name? Amy. A whole bunch of Amy's under us to buy as much product as he can, because they get a piece of whatever Amy buys.
Of course. And
And
him
they
too.
also, and so does Ronald.
That's right.
Because Ronald gets a smaller piece of Amy, but he still gets a piece of Amy. And then, what's your name?
Damien.
What's your name?
Cody.
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 I want to get a whole bunch of Codys because that's the way I'm going to make my money. And he's going to get a little piece of Cody, and he's going to get a smaller piece of Cody, but everybody's going to get a piece of Cody. That's the way the game works.
Oh, yeah.
Got it?
That's right.
Pretty much. Now, you also reach certain levels in this business, because if you're a master, or if you're a guru, or if you're a titan, or if you're an Ogatunji, whatever it is, what happens is they give you perks.
Oh, yeah.
Do you get perks in your business, like a car?
If you get high enough, you do. Yeah, I'm not there
yet. You think this is a scheme that I haven't been through a couple of times in my life?
No, I didn't say that.
All right, I got it. So if you get up really high, if you get to be a Grandmaster Ungatunji, they give you a BMW.
Of course.
Or they give you a Mercedes. So there are advantages for Ronald to get a whole bunch of Damiens, and for Damiens to get a whole bunch of Amy's, and for Amy's to get a whole bunch of Cody's, because in addition to getting the money, you also get the perks. That's the drill. Now, Damien over here got Amy involved in the business, and she bought inventory. How much worth, sir?
It was worth $5,000.
What are you asking him for? The questions are going to get harder.
Oh my. I think it was worth about $5,000, and he actually put up $3,300.
Okay, but you put up the money for her
Yes, I did.
on your credit card
Yes, I did.
because you were hoping that she was going to do well in the business, and she wasn't such a good salesperson. And she couldn't find a Cody. If she killed herself, she couldn't find a Cody. So you ended up getting stiffed for your money.
Correct.
And she sent back some of her product,
Right, some of it.
but you want, because you're stuck with the bill now, because you're not a Grandmaster Ogatunji yet.
Right.
There isn't any such thing as a
There may be, I'm
Grandmaster
not that high
Ogatunji,
up,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I sort of made that up because it sounded funny. So you want her to pay you the money. Miss Brown says you gave her all kinds of sales pitch. You told her she was going to make a fortune, that there were Codys floating around under every rock, that she was going to be able to sell these vitamins, that they were the greatest thing since sliced bread. And she couldn't do it because she was no salesperson. And since you didn't help her, she sent back the product that she hadn't used. If you have the bill, that's your problem. Okay, we have certain things that we understand. We understand that he bought in for $3,300 and put it on his credit card. That is an agreed state of fact. It is also agreed that you agreed to pay him back that money for starting you in this business. This was going to be your business. You were going to be a grand female ugatunja. Didn't work out. Wasn't your thing. So what did you do?
I asked for his help several times.
How did you do that?
Either phone conversations or via email.
And what did he say to you?
Usually it was, yeah, we need to get together and talk about this, which never happened. And after so many attempts, I just sent all the product back.
And what did he say?
He was fine with it as far as I knew. I told him I was going to do it, and he said he understood.
So, when did he decide to sue you?
I just was served about 2 weeks ago.
When was this that you sent back the product?
I believe it was May or June of 2006.
So why did you wait to sue her, sir? Is not an answer.
Okay. I wanted to work with Amy to give her an opportunity to pay back the remaining balance.
Well, had you asked her for it?
Of course.
How many times did you ask her for the balance?
Numerous. Both on the phone, and then when she started not returning my phone calls, our relationship was degraded. And I have in emails that she said she would indeed pay back the remaining balance.
Can I see it, please?
May I say something else, Your Honor?
Yes.
I absolutely did make every attempt to not only talk to Amy on the phone, but to get together with her, to involve her in opportunity meetings. Ronald also met her in Anaheim for a meeting. I feel like we put forth a very fair and aggressive effort to assist her with this.
It is clear to me that over the course of several months, you agreed to pay him.
And I agreed to make payments.
So why didn't you?
Because at the time I had lost my job, I was laid off, and I just bought my condo. And
you just bought your condo?
I just bought a condo, and then I was laid off, and then I was trying to get caught up with my other bills, which were a priority.
Well, then you acknowledge this debt to him.
A portion of it.
Well, which portion of it, madam?
I agreed to, okay, he had agreed to help me with.
Listen, we're beyond that. We had agreed to help you. Now I have emails where you clearly acknowledge the debt, which belies what you told me, that he breached his contract to help you, which is why you don't have to pay him. So now we know that you agreed to pay him. So I'm asking you why. Is it because you bought a condo?
No, the condo was prior to even meeting him.
Well, so what does that have to do with paying him back for your business?
No, I had been laid off, and that's when I met him, and he convinced me to do this so that I could make money. Then
it didn't work out, and you returned the product, and you still said, I'm going to pay you. So what stopped you?
Well, I didn't agree with the amounts that he was saying I owed him.
Well, how much do you say you owe him? That's where I started 5 minutes ago.
Okay, I believe I owe him maybe $1,000 just based on the portions of it that I was able to sell.
Well, how much did you sell?
Maybe a couple $100 worth to just...
Where are your records?
There's no record. I mean, you sell the container to people for cash.
What do you mean, you sell it for cash and then you don't report it to anybody? Not even the government? How do you expect to pay your taxes?
I don't know. This is something he was supposed to help me with.
He's not supposed to help you with that. This is your business.
Well, this is what he promised to help me with. I have the emails where he stated he promised to help me as well.
How much product? $3,300. How much product did she send back?
She returned $699.30, which was credited to my credit card. And she gave me a personal check for $300.
And you cashed it?
Of course.
Good.
Also, Your Honor, originally I gave Amy a can, 2 cans of product, which I said you can pay me back for. Just give me the same cans once you get your order, and she never did. So I had added that in as well.
You're going to have to live with that, sir, Damien.
Okay.
So she returned $700 worth of product, bringing it down to $2,600, and she gave you $300, leaving a grand total of $2,300.
And they actually prorated that, that they don't refund you the full amount. So they only give you, I think, 80 to 90% back.
And
that's what was credited to his credit card.
Well, that's all right. He has to be made whole. You're a big girl. How old are you?
36.
What?
36.
36. 36 years old. You make a decision. It doesn't work out. You have to take care of the consequences. These are slick guys. This is the way they make a living. They find people who are young, looking to start a new life, start a new business, not worked out in other fields, and they say, listen, you can make a lot of money. And some people make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Ronald makes a good living, right? Damien, I don't know. Do you make a good living?
I'm working on it.
Well, how much did you earn last year?
With Just Relive?
Yes.
I'd have to look at my tax return.
Let's try to give me a round ballpark figure, Damien.
I'm going to say probably around $8,000.
8.
Mm-hmm.
You make a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
You've been there 12 years.
Yeah.
How long have you been in, Damien?
About 3 years.
Oh, when you're there 12 years, you're going to have that Mercedes you want.
I hope so.
What kind of car do you drive, Ronald?
I drove a BMW.
Now.
Can I say something?
Sure.
The business has a 1-year money-back guarantee. So at any point, she could have returned the product and got 90% of her money back. The business isn't designed for people to fail. If they don't want to do it, if they get a new job, that's okay. So if there was ever a discrepancy, she could have returned all the product and Damien would have got reimbursed. So.
But she didn't.
Right.
She's got to pay him.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sure.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,300. Thank you. That's all.
Jesse.
I don't know.
You don't know she's your mother?
No, I do, but I mean, I don't know how this all came about.
I do. We're going to find out.
You are. Thank you. Thank you.
Miss Bell.
Yes.
How old are you?
22.
You work?
Yes.
For whom?
My father.
Doing what?
I'm a receptionist of his company. I've been working there for about 5 years.
Is it a successful company?
Yes.
How many children are there in your family?
I have one brother, one sister.
Is your sister younger or older?
She's older. She's 32.
So you're the baby daughter?
Yes.
Pretty one.
Thank you.
According to what I read, you used to be involved romantically with him.
Mm-hmm.
The one who's going to sit up and uncross his arms.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And he was a friend of this one.
Yes.
Yes,
correct.
ma'am.
So you became a friend of this one.
Well, I was friends with him before Jesse and I actually got into a relationship.
And I gather that your father must have been thrilled with your choice of boyfriends.
Absolutely not.
Now, I could tell that before I even sat down. Because these two charmers ended up in jail.
Correct.
For whatever. We'll figure it out. And it is your claim that you loaned Mr. Carper money to pay off his criminal fines.
Correct.
Mr. Carper says that you did pay off his criminal fines, and you did so as a gift because you were a friend of his. He says you were more than a friend of his, that you had a romantic relationship.
We were never boyfriend and girlfriend.
Listen, he didn't say boyfriend and girlfriend, he just says you were intimate with both of them.
No.
And all I can say is yuck. Can you imagine a father who has a company that has enough money to employ a receptionist? And this is the boyfriend and this is the friend that she goes to visit both of them in jail? How many times did you go to visit them in jail?
I never visited them in jail.
Oh, good. At least thank God for that. No. What were you in jail for, Mr. Carper?
Personal reasons, ma'am.
Personal reasons is not a criminal offense. Shh, quiet.
I made stupid decisions, Your Honor.
Mr. Carper, when I ask a question, I expect an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you in jail for?
Possession.
Possession of?
Schedule II substance. Pills.
Was it the first time you were arrested?
No, ma'am.
And the last time you were arrested was when, sir?
Before I got incarcerated.
When were you incarcerated?
It's March of 2002.
And how long were you in prison?
30 months.
What prison?
Coffeewood and Camp 7.
Are you still on parole status?
Yes, ma'am.
Until when?
It's indefinite.
You're on indefinite parole?
Yes, ma'am.
Fabulous. Now, your friend, what's his name?
Jesse Goff.
Jesse. How long have you and Jesse been friends?
Since I was 5 years old, ma'am.
And what was he in prison for?
Assault.
Assault?
Yes, ma'am.
How long had Jesse and Miss Bell been friends?
They had known each other for a long time. I never met her. She said I knew her before they started dating. I never met this girl until I came home. I didn't know who she was. So that's a lie right there.
How long did you think they were involved? He was in prison with you, right?
We were in the county jail together.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
When were you in the county jail together?
2003.
Did he know her then? Were they involved then?
I take it. No, they weren't involved.
No. We were
when
not.
did you first hook up with Jesse?
I started talking to Jesse actually back in high school, about 9th grade.
When did you start to see him romantically?
I want to say July.
And he's just out of jail?
Yes.
You're his mother?
I am.
Sometimes you bake a souffle and it falls. Happens. Tell me about the loan.
I loaned him $4,589 on September 29th to pay off his charges, which I have receipts of.
Well, tell me how it came about that you laid out that money.
Well, I saw him apply after job after job after job, and he kept getting turned down because he didn't have his license. And
what do you mean you saw him?
Well, I would take him and Mr. Goff to apply at jobs. And
why would you do that?
I was trying to help them out by taking them to fill out job applications so they could get a job, and I didn't want them to get locked back up. And I asked Mr. Carper if I were to pay off his fines, he could get his license and get a job, and if him and Jesse were willing to be my roommates, because I'm going through separation. So
Separation from?
My husband.
You have any children?
I have a 3-year-old daughter.
So you wanted to take your 3-year-old daughter and be their roommate?
Yes.
Who do you live with now?
Now I live with my parents. I'm currently trying to
Stay there, because your judgment is impaired, big time.
Recently it has been, I do agree.
If you are a 22-year-old woman and your judgment is impaired and all you're doing is hurting yourself, that's one thing. But to take your 3-year-old child and on purpose, move in out of your parents' home into an apartment with 2 convicted felons who are on parole, one for drugs, and I'm not so sure about him now, is the kind of lapsed judgment that your parents aren't going to tolerate.
It's actually a house that I own, and my husband, my ex, moved out, and I could not afford the mortgage, and I actually lived there, and it was either I find some roommates or I try to
don't care if you have to live in a shelter. You don't take a 3-year-old child and put a 3-year-old child in a circumstance where you have 2 convicted felons, one of whom was there for pills.
I agree.
Got it?
It was also cocaine.
So you paid off his fines?
Yes.
And how was he supposed to pay you back?
He was going to pay me monthly because I actually charged it on a credit card, and he agreed to pay me monthly. At first, a little bit over the minimum payment, and then, you know, he was going to pay me a lot more.
What were the fines for? Can I see the piece of paper that you have? You think that's a real diamond in his ear?
It definitely is.
I doubt it.
Is that a real diamond in your ear?
Of course, ma'am. I don't wear fake things.
What?
I said I don't wear fake things. Just
Could I see it, please?
You said
take it out.
Wow.
Thank you. Felony fee, fines, $1,000. Felony fee, $350. Jail admission fee, $25. And court-appointed attorney, $437. Love it. Commonwealth of Virginia. Good for Virginia. And what would happen to you, Mr. Carper, if you didn't pay these fines?
They would probably violate my parole.
And then what would happen to you?
Then I would not see the light of day forever.
What do you think fines are for, sir?
To be paid, ma'am.
Because they're part of your what?
Probation.
Part of your what? Punishment.
Yes, ma'am.
And if somebody else pays your fine, then you have no...
Punishment.
Right. Why do you think a court would allow that to happen?
Because it's the law, ma'am.
What's the law? Why do you think a court would allow somebody else to do your punishment? Let me ask you this, sir. We've already established that payment of the fine is what?
Punishment.
Right. And you're going to jail was a form of?
Punishment, ma'am.
Now, you couldn't say to somebody else, listen, I want you to do me a favor. I don't feel like going to jail. I'm going to go out and sell a whole bunch of pills and maybe a little cocaine, so I'm going to have a couple of bucks, you know. I'm going to give you $10,000 to do my 30 months. You think that the state would permit that to happen?
No, ma'am.
What would the person say to you now? I don't mind going to jail. I have nothing else to do. I could really use the $10,000. I'll go to jail for you for the 30 months. You think the state would permit that?
No, ma'am.
Because then you wouldn't be doing your own. Let somebody else pay your fines. You're allowing somebody else to do your...
Punishment, ma'am.
Is he a quick learner or what? So the first thing you have to do in order to do your punishment is sell your diamonds. That's what the first thing that people do is sell their diamonds, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then they pay the rest of their debt, $4,500. Maybe you can get $89 for this Hope diamond. When did you give him up as a boyfriend?
We weren't really actually together because he's not capable of just having one girlfriend. We were supposedly together for probably about maybe a month.
You are an articulate, nice-looking girl who clearly has very low self-esteem. Because if you didn't have low self-esteem, you wouldn't have been involved with either one of them.
Correct.
You have parents who have a business, you have a child, you've made some bad judgments, but you're only 22 years old. You have the capacity to change. You have anything you want to add to what I've already said?
I do.
I mean, I'm just dying to hear why you would come be her witness if your son is sitting over there?
Because what's wrong is wrong, and you're absolutely right. He's skating his punishment.
Do you have anything new to add?
I think it's a fine how you do to thank somebody for doing all that she did for you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. By the way, did she also pay your son's fines?
Yes, she did.
Did he pay her back?
No, we actually go to court for that on March 7th in Prince William County.
Should we just hang out here?
Just a second. Just a second. So why don't you do this? You're his mother, right?
I am.
You made him. You raised him. Why don't you pay his fines?
Because he's 24 years old and I'm not responsible for him anymore.
Right, yeah, I know, but you're more responsible than a stranger. Maybe you should just
I would not have paid his fines in the first place.
You would let him go back to jail?
I would.
You're absolutely right. Sit down. In any event, she paid $4,589 in order to keep you free. I'm entering a judgment for $4,500 and his diamond. Thank you. That's all. Caused substantial damage to buildings of yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
With his vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Schnell says he didn't do it. So, first, when was the damage to your buildings?
December 6th of last year, Your Honor.
What kind of buildings were there?
It was a fenced-in area where I keep some construction material and a metal building, a steel building. I drew a diagram, if I could show you that.
First, I'd like to see the damage done to the buildings. You have photographs?
Yes, ma'am.
There wasn't a tornado in your area, was there?
Not at that time, Your Honor.
No. And when you left, you said it was December of '06. What date in December?
December 6th.
On the 5th, were you at the building?
Yes, ma'am.
Building's okay?
It was fine when I left around 6 p.m.
Fence was okay?
Yes, everything was okay. No tornadoes that night.
So now I see the damage. How much in dollars was the damage that
I
was
estimated around $4,600, Your Honor.
How do you get to that estimate, Mr. Paddington?
I'm a licensed contractor. I brought a copy of my contractor's license, and I actually believe I estimated it low since I can do most of the work myself.
You have to replace the fence in the shed?
Yes.
Okay. Now you're going to try to explain to me, since I gather from your papers you did not see Mr. Schnell.
That's correct.
Cause this damage. What evidence do you have that he caused the damage?
Well, Your Honor, can I show you at first what I thought happened to the property?
No, don't tell me what you thought. I'm not interested in what you thought.
Okay, the reason I think it was Mr. Snell is when he hit the concrete sidewalk here, he blew out a tire. Left gouge marks on the concrete, knocked down all of this, and there was gouge marks all along the property, and we followed the gouge marks down here, and I could actually see where the gouge marks on the road.
You mean the gouge marks on the road from being driven on the tire rim?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Got it.
He turned up, I could see where they crossed the street and turned up 90th Avenue. At the time I was looking, a friend of mine and his son came down.
It's hearsay.
Okay. Well, I think that's a key evidence, Your Honor, that someone told us.
Well, I don't care if it's key evidence or not, sir. That's hearsay. What somebody else told you, an out-of-court statement, is not admissible in court for the truth of that statement. So right now, you're following the gouge marks.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Okay, at that point, the police went up this street. I didn't go.
You did not go with them?
No, I didn't. They went past this house, down here where they found Mr. Schnell's vehicle.
Just a second. Only if you have a police report that indicates that.
I do have a police report,
I'd like
Your
to
Honor.
take a look at that. Police observe in their report that the damage appears to have been done by somebody doing donuts on the property with their car and lost control and struck the concrete pad, causing the right front tire to blow out, which caused damage to the rim. And then the writer observed pieces of the rim on the concrete pad. The writer observed gouge marks on the concrete from the broken rim. Then it ran into a chain-link fence. Writer recovered various pieces from the rim and also the passenger's side mirror and what appeared to be a fog lamp. Then the police found the defendant's car, Mr. Schnell. That would be you.
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up on your own 2 feet.
Yes, ma'am.
And found that the mirror that was located at the location matched that of the subject vehicle. Coincidence.
Big coincidence, Your
Speak
Honor.
not!
Yes, ma'am.
And the writer, that would be the police, also observed that pieces of the rim that were found at the incident location also matched that of the subject's vehicle. That would be you.
My turn?
Look at me. Look at me.
Yes, ma'am. I
don't want you to look down at anything.
Oh, no. I was just grabbing the pictures. I have evidence also. There is no way that my Jeep could have done that damage to his property, ma'am.
What kind of car do you... Put it down.
What kind of car do you have?
98 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
How much did you pay for it?
About $5,000.
Did you take good care of the car?
Oh, no, ma'am, I did not.
So you acted irresponsibly towards the car.
Oh, I did.
Where did you
Yes,
get the $5,000 from to buy the car?
I just,
Don't look over there.
Yes, ma'am. I just gotten off a deployment, ma'am, from Iraq, so I had a lot of money in the bank.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, about a day prior to the incident, ma'am, I had totaled my Jeep. I was driving along the road. I was speeding like...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Day before,
Yes, ma'am.
you totaled the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you did that.
My tire...
Look at me.
Yes, ma'am. My tire blew out, and I went into
Which tire?
my right front tire, ma'am.
Right front tire blew out.
Yes, ma'am.
How did it blow out, Mr. Schnell?
I don't know how it blew out, ma'am.
Right front tire blew out, and?
I went crashing into trees. I got pictures here that shows the trees that I crashed into.
I'd like to take
shows
a
the
look.
brake marks.
I'd like to take a look at the tree you crashed into.
Yes, ma'am.
And that wasn't anywhere near his building, was it?
Oh, no, ma'am.
Good.
You look at the pictures, you won't see a building around it.
And I want to see the car.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
took pictures
Yes, ma'am.
of the tree. Very nice. And now I want to see a picture of the car. Totaled undrivable?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It was completely undrivable.
Completely.
Yes, ma'am. Well, it would start, ma'am, but...
Don't speak. I have questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So you went into a tree. How far away from where you live?
A couple miles, ma'am. About 2 or 3.
Would it be anywhere in this area that's on the bottom?
I can show you on the map, ma'am.
Sure.
It would be out this way if the map extended further.
Okay, good. So it would be all the way over there.
Yes, ma'am.
And how did the car get back to your house?
I rode it home on the rim, ma'am.
I thought you told me that it was not drivable, sir.
It was...
Listen to me. You just told me a moment ago, Mr. Schnell,
Yes, ma'am.
that the car was not drivable.
Not safely drivable anyway, ma'am.
Mr. Schnell, this is not going to go well for you, sir. For you to drive it home.
Well,
on the
limp it
rim.
home's more like it, ma'am.
No. You either call the police.
The way I
that's what
figured
you
it is
do.
if I called the police and I filled out an accident report and everything and go back to my insurance company and most of those damages on there, I can just get the parts from a junkyard or something and fix it
Now,
cheaper
one
than
of the
deductible
things
would
that
be.
was damaged on your car, sir, is a side view mirror that's missing.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not
Just a sec. I'm speaking. A side view. So far, does it look as if I need your help?
I have some other pictures I want to show you, Your Honor.
I'm not finished with him yet. So far we have a right front tire
Yes, ma'am.
that matches the right front tire at his place of business, and a side view mirror also found at his place of business, also missing from your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Coincidence.
I'm
I'm
not-
speaking coincidence. Either it's a coincidence or it's on purpose.
It's coincidence, ma'am.
Coincidence.
Yes, ma'am.
We also have a fog lamp
Yes, ma'am.
also missing from your car.
I'm not
No.
disputing that my car was crashed, ma'am.
Just answer my question.
Yes, ma'am. Also missing.
That the police found on his property.
Yes, ma'am. Also, if you'll look at that picture, though, ma'am, did they find my bumper on his property?
Just a second.
Did they find
let
anything
me
else that was
explain
missing from the
something
car,
to you,
ma'am?
sir. I don't answer your question.
Yes, ma'am.
That is not my job.
Yes, ma'am.
At what rank did you leave the military?
Lance Corporal, ma'am.
What was a step above Lance Corporal?
Corporal.
Corporal. And above that?
Sergeant.
Did you speak back to your sergeant?
I did
Not
when
if
I
you
was right,
wanted to
ma'am.
live, right?
I did when I was right, ma'am.
Well, maybe that's why you chose not to make the Army a career.
Marine Corps, ma'am.
So now we have the coincidence of right front tire, side view mirror, and fog lamp, all retrieved at his place of business after the police, according to this, followed the rim marks back to your house.
There is no way that I could have drove that car that night because the tire was already blown out.
That's if I believe that you went into a tree the day before. That's if I believe that, sir. You're starting out with a premise that is not necessarily true.
I have
That
a witness that can say for sure that my Jeep was wrecked on the night in question.
You mean that's him?
Yes, ma'am.
If I were to call you up here, would you tell me that the Jeep was wrecked the day before?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, right. Now, when you got home, just for my own curiosity, when you got home on the 5th after you wrecked this vehicle and you live with look at me, with him? I'm asking you a question.
Oh, me, ma'am? I
Yeah.
thought you were talking to him again.
No,
Sorry about
my
that.
eyes look at the person I'm talking to.
Yes, ma'am. No, I live at home, ma'am, with my family.
With your family?
Yes, ma'am.
Mother and father?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you provide the police with your mother and father's names so that they could confirm this story that you told about your car being damaged the day before?
The answer is either yes or... Now I'll see your pictures.
Thank you. These are actual police photographs, Your Honor, when the police went to his house. And these photos are still in evidence that show the fog lamp in question and the mirror and some parts for the rim.
I'd like to see it,
that
please.
the police matched to the vehicle. And I've also found more pieces on my property since I've been doing the cleanup.
Okay, just a second. So the mirror that was found, which is primarily what I'm looking at, the paint is the same color as his car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's see what else we have. So we have
And
right
you can see-
front tire, side view mirror, the same color as the side view mirror would have been from his car.
Yes, Your Honor.
All found on your property.
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do now, Mr. Schnell?
I'm unemployed, ma'am,
How long have you been unemployed?
since end of November.
Why?
Unemployment pays better than Walmart.
So your parents just let you sort of hang around after you... When did you come out of the service?
My EAS was November 26th.
Of 06?
Yes, ma'am.
So you stayed home December, January, February. At this point, it's time for you to get into gear, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
First, you pay him the money that you owe him, $4,600. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
We did.
This is your complaint. You put an ad in Craigslist. I gather you went to school to become a massage therapist?
Yes.
And you put an ad on Craigslist for massages with your picture on it. Does it have your picture?
Yes.
Mr. Bell saw that ad on Craigslist. Is that right, sir?
I did.
And he thought it was really funny that you had posted that ad on Craigslist. So far, am I right?
Yes.
So he circulated it around the office. He sent it to a lot of other people. He thought it was funny, like, you know, like people send jokes on the computer, and he sent it to a whole lot of other people. So you're suing him for defamation because you were very embarrassed.
Yes.
That's what this is all about. Mr. London, can I see the ad, please?
Yeah.
Okay. So this says, hello, ladies. Imagine casting your eyes upon this gorgeous whatever. It's got pictures of you, right? And it says, massage for big, beautiful women. Reply to personals, it looks like a number at Craigslist.org. And when people reply to this personal, they get you. Is that right?
Well, they get transferred to an email, yeah.
But it's you.
No, not in this particular case. There's a little bit more to the story that hasn't been revealed yet.
Sir, all I want to know
Yes.
is, it comes back to you.
Yes.
Now, is this the same ad that you sent to other people?
Yes.
You didn't modify it in any way?
No, didn't modify
You didn't
it.
change it, you didn't add words,
No,
you didn't...
no, I didn't. I just sent the link.
You sent the link and you said, take a look at this.
That's it.
That's not a crime, Mr. London. That's not a crime. That's not a lawsuit.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to it.
Well,
though.
give me 30 seconds, sir. That's what happened. You put this
Well-
ad that you didn't want to be circulated among your
No.
office mates. He circulated it among your office mates. If you didn't want it out there, you shouldn't have printed it.
Well, no, that actually isn't what happened. What happened is I work for the bank, and I also have a personal training and massage therapy business, like you said. And another kind of job side hustle that I do is I write personal ads for Craigslist. Also ads for businesses, whoever needs advertising.
Very nice.
who
I'm
lacks-
not an advertisement for you, sir. So you have a lot of businesses. You
And-
put this on Craigslist.
Yes, technically speaking.
That's what
But
we're here for.
that ad wasn't for me.
Who cares
I
who it
wrote
was
the ad
for?
for somebody else. This
Who cares who it was for? Who cares? He doesn't know that. All he knows is this is the ad that he saw on Craigslist. He had every right to send it to whoever he wanted to send it to.
to my workplace. Well, he doesn't work in the workplace anymore.
I don't care. He could have sent it to the King of Siam. He could have sent it to me. He could have sent it to the President of the United States. He could have sent it to the Vice President of the United States or the Secretary of the Interior. It doesn't make any difference. It's out there in cyberspace, put on the internet by you, Mr. London. He could send it to whoever he wants. It's open. That's what it is. It's like sending an open letter.
To send it to my job for what? For
Who
laughs?
cares? If you don't want to be embarrassed, you don't put embarrassing things on the internet, Mr. London. If you don't want to be embarrassed, keep your private thoughts to yourself.
But the ad is not mine. Is what I'm trying to tell you. Can I actually tell you?
Listen,
what-
Mr. London, I understand the nonsense what you wrote in your complaint. You said you were doing an ad for somebody else, and this was just a sample of what the ad would look like. But Mr. Bell doesn't know that because you posted this on Craigslist.
But how does he know I posted it?
It doesn't make any difference whether he knows you posted it or not, sir. It's here. It's out there in the world. just like he sees it, anybody else can see it. He can send it to whomever he wants to send it. The truth of the matter is, you did post it on Craigslist. Did somebody tie you down and take these pictures?
No, those are sample pictures.
Those are pictures that
The
you...
pictures don't even match the ad, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh,
it's
yes,
not
they
even...
do. Oh, yeah, listen, Mr. London, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, sir. This may have aggravated you. It may have upset you. It's a very good lesson. If you want to think privately, you go, I want to take it all in, and this is what I want to do. I want to keep these thoughts to myself. If you want to give massages to big, beautiful women, and that's what you're thinking about, and I'm going to see, but I'm not going to write it in a letter to my mother or my sister or my boyfriend or my girlfriend. I'm going to keep it to myself. Once you type it in the machine and you write send, it's over. It's out there. It's in Mexico and Burma and Jersey and Brooklyn. It's all over the place. And you can't complain about it if somebody says, this is really funny. I want to send it to everybody that I know who knows this jerk who posted this on Craigslist. So, Mr. London, grow up. You want to keep things to yourself? You want to talk into your pillow. Don't talk into your computer. Case is dismissed. Your complaint alleges that he co-signed for a car for you.
Yes.
The car was titled in his name?
And mine.
But he was on the loan?
Yes.
You couldn't get credit?
Both of us were on the loan.
But you couldn't get credit yourself?
Yes.
You broke up. And the agreement, when he agreed to co-sign for you, from what I understand, was as follows. He would co-sign for you, and you would make regular payments on the car, timely, that you would maintain insurance on the car, that you would pay for his cell phone, maintain his cell phone. Anything else, sir?
Medical insurance.
And keep him on your medical insurance, pay for his medical insurance.
Yes.
That was in exchange for him obligating himself on the car loan. You broke up. According to Mr. Trujillo, you were late in many of your car payments, which damaged his credit.
Yes.
In addition, although he doesn't say it, you do, you canceled his cell phone and canceled his medical insurance.
In January of 2007, yes. This year.
Whatever. You canceled his medical insurance. There was no time limit on this contract.
It wasn't really an agreement that I was going to pay his cell phone insurance. It was more of a blackmail, and I have emails to prove that.
What do you mean? Just a sec. I'll see you in a sec. But it's my understanding, even from you, in your complaint, that we came to an agreement, this is what you swore to, that he would co-sign my car for me, and I would pay for his cell phone plan along with adding him to my medical insurance. That's what you say.
Yes.
So you canceled his cell phone and you canceled his medical insurance. You fell behind in your car payments, and he repossessed the car and turned it back in. Mm-hmm. Is that what you did with it, or are you driving it?
I currently have the car.
You currently have the car, and
Yes.
you've made up the car payments.
Right, I write it up to date.
You want all the money that you put into the car.
Not necessarily all the money, the down payment that I put into and the payments, some of the payments that I did, and for insurance and the cell phone bill that I did remove them from it, but it wasn't really an agreement. And I have emails that show that it was more of, if I take them off, that the car deal would be done and deal with.
Well, that's true. You know, I don't understand, Miss Blanco. If you made that agreement with him when he co-signed for the car for you, which is what you say in your complaint, and you subsequently break up. So you get the dates. When did you break up?
In September of 2006.
And when was the car purchased?
July 22nd of 2006.
And when did you take him off the cell phone?
The cell phone, I took him off in this February of 2007.
And when did you cut him off of your health insurance?
They didn't cancel that until August 31st of this year, after he took the vehicle and everything.
When did you cancel him from the health insurance? Not when they took him off. When did you cancel him?
When I told him June of this year.
June?
Of 2007.
And he repossessed the car?
June 10th.
Which he lied about repoing the car. He did not tell me anything.
He doesn't have to tell you anything. How many times were you late on car payments?
4 times. But I have proof from VW that I called them, everything, we stayed in touch.
I don't care whether you stayed in touch. What does that mean, Ms. Blanco, that you stayed in touch?
Because they cut my hours from work. It was very unexpected. On March 10th, we had a meeting and they told us, hey, we're cutting hours by Monday. I went from working 40-plus hours to 32 hours. There was no way I could come up with the money. I was trying my hardest to get a second job, and Renee knew about this. He knew that I was trying to get a second job. I kept in touch with him. I only paid $110 this time.
Ms. Blanco, you have to be a grown-up, sweetheart. Listen to me. You can't visit your problems on him. The fact that you were working with Volkswagen and they don't want your old car back, they want to work with you as long as they're going to get their money, right? That's one thing. That doesn't mean it's not reported to his credit as the co-signer. The fact that you lost hours impacted on him.
He
You
knew
understand that.
I understand
That's his
that.
complaint, because he has a counterclaim. He says you ruined his credit because for 4 times, and I don't care if it was 4 times or 3 times or 2 times, if you don't make your car payment on time, the people who were responsible on that loan are going to be penalized. That was him. He has an absolute right to repossess the car for that alone. In addition to the fact that you had a contract with him, a verbal contract, he would obligate himself on the car if you would maintain him on his cell phone and your insurance. Well, after a while, you're not his girlfriend anymore. You say, I'm going to cancel that cell phone. I don't want to pay for a cell phone, but he's calling other people, and I don't want to pay for his health insurance anymore. I'm canceling it.
It wasn't out of a malicious act to remove him.
It doesn't have to be malicious. That was your contract with him.
But it wasn't a contract.
Yes, it was. That's what you said. You
I
said
have
it
emails
was an
from him.
agreement. We came to an agreement that he would co-sign my car for me and I would pay for his cell phone along with adding him to my health insurance. You want me to see what you signed?
I know. I circled that agreement part. It wasn't...
That's what you signed.
I know.
That's what you swore to.
It wasn't an
That's what you
agreement,
said happened. That's what he says happened. He
It
may not
wasn't
want to
a-
revisit that now.
Your Honor, there's an email here that shows the only reason I kept that
I want to look
going
at the email.
was because
she
of
doesn't
this.
understand that the email is going to support exactly what I said. Yeah, he says to you, you keep me on your insurance and your cell phone plan, and we'll keep the same car deal. That's what he says.
But it wasn't the car deal. The reason why it says car deal is because when we first signed up for the car, we signed up on July 22nd. A couple days after that, the guy that we did the car loan with called us in and said, hey, we have a better interest rate for you. If you come in, we could redo the contract. So I got sick a couple days after that, so we couldn't go right away. I had surgery, everything was fine. We went back and redid the contract, but before we redid the contract, we got into an argument, and I said, you know what, we have to take this out of my name, or out of your name, put it into my own name, now that, this is not how it's supposed to be. And in that email it says,
Ms. Blanco, was the car in both your names?
Yes.
Was the loan in both your names?
Yes.
Do you have proof, sir, that your credit score went from one thing to another?
I do.
Can I see it, please?
Sure. This is the before and the after with the credit scores highlighted.
I have the proof of, or not proof, but when we first co-signed the car, they did a credit check on us, and I have the credit score that they gave us on his and
Not
mine.
us, him.
And mine. Both of ours.
Just his.
Oh, you want
What was his?
His was 776.
Now it's 630. Now it's 630, based upon your 4 late payments. Now, is this a new car?
Yes.
You know, when you walk out of the showroom, the car is diminished by 20%?
Yes.
So he had to take over a car that was now worth 20% less because you ruined his credit, in addition to cutting off his cell phone and insurance. Forget that. So you don't get anything for that, Ms. Blanco? Nothing.
This
You should have
is not,
kept
it wasn't an agreement. I know that says in its agreement, but when we were signing it upstairs, I circled it and said it wasn't really an agreement.
Whether it was or it was not, you cannot ruin the co-signatory's credit rating because you
that.
had a problem with your job. That's not his problem.
He knew that, and we were trying. We
Listen to
both
me.
wanted to make payments on it, but they didn't take credit card.
All
And
right.
I
Listen,
tried
Ms.
my hardest
Blanco,
to get a
stop
second job.
crying. Did you buy a new car?
No, I have not.
Why not?
I'm saving up for it.
Good. That's what you
Because I
should have
want
done.
payments.
That's what you should have done.
And
in the
that's what we
beginning.
wanted to do, and I wanted to do, and I have proof that I tried my hardest to get my car to pass smog so that I didn't have to get a new car. Chucky was also there as when I was searching for a new car. I did not want payments whatsoever, and he convinced me to get a new car and get payments.
You are a very strong young lady, and you don't seem to me like somebody who's shy. You got into difficulty. He had a right to take back the car.
Not the way he did, though.
Listen.
I
I'm
was
not
at
saying
work, Your Honor.
I'm not saying he was Prince Charming. He had
I
a
know.
right to take back the car.
But I was at work, Your Honor, when he came, and I had lunch with my boss, and he just took the car. He did not warn me. After lying about having the spare key.
I'm not the moral police, Ms. Blanco. I'm here to decide a legal issue. The legal issue is, did he have the right to take the car? Absolutely. Did he have the right to sell the car? Absolutely. Does
Which
he have
he
the
has
right
not.
to keep the car and make the payments? Absolutely. That is his prerogative because you ruined his credit. You have no right to do that. You have to be a big grown-up girl and not say because I lost my job, I had surgery, I had other things that happened to me, and I this and I have that. It's not my fault. He took the car the way I was having lunch with my boss. He didn't give me notice. You breached the contract to make the payments in a timely manner. May not have been of your own volition. It may have been because, I don't know, the sky was falling and henny penny and whatever other reason it was, but that can't impact on him. He's not your boyfriend anymore. He's not your boyfriend. He's not your father. He's not your brother. He has no moral obligation to you whatsoever. Now, you're driving the car, sir?
No, it's currently garaged at my mother's house.
Why?
Because I have nowhere to put it at. I go to San Francisco State, and I have no
Well,
garage.
who's going to drive the car?
My mom's driving it right now.
Oh, your mom's driving it. Good. So you have a nice car, right?
Right.
Good. So what are you complaining about?
By the time I sell the car to my supervisor here, I will have lost $5,000.
Well, you should have sold it to her sooner.
She doesn't have. She's going to apply for a loan.
You should have sold it to her sooner. That's not her problem. That's your problem.
Okay.
You took back the car. Car is in good running order.
Yes.
And now you're paying for it, and you're going to sell it to somebody else.
To her.
And right now your mother's driving it.
Right.
Very nice. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Okay.
So is your claim. You're not entitled to any money back. That's all. Thank you. Thank you. But apparently are intelligent people getting themselves involved in somebody else's mess. Miss Lane, according to you, you allowed this young lady, would that be you? The child of this young lady over here, to move into your house because she was the girlfriend of your 15-year-old son. Nothing could be dumber. Let's start out with that.
I agree, Your Honor.
Perfect. Then we have no problem.
In hindsight, it was a
The
mistake.
dumbest thing, and people do it all the time, seemingly intelligent people. A parent can't control their child. A parent says, I'm just as happy if some stranger takes her into the house, or some stranger takes him into the house. And reasonably intelligent people say, well, maybe I can fix this problem, and bring them into their home, which is probably a very calm, reasonable place to live, and all of a sudden there's turmoil. In any event, having gotten that off my chest for the rest of the world to hear, don't take somebody else's problem children into your house. She came to live with you.
Yes.
And there was an episode where you believed that she required immediate medical assistance.
Yes.
She was taken to a hospital emergency room. You're responsible for the bill, and you want her mother to pay that bill.
Correct.
Then there are charges and counter charges of harassment, which I'm really not interested in, because I think that that's a bunch of nonsense, because if this bill had been paid, we wouldn't have any harassment. So I'm turning to Miss Hess. Why did you allow your 17-year-old daughter to move out of your house?
Well, number one, she was rebelling. I said, do you want to take your little wings and fly and test me on this, being 17 years old and working 2 jobs and trying to maintain? Then you go right ahead.
Just a second. Who's working 2 jobs, her or you?
I was.
Okay.
And I tried to talk to this lady, but it wasn't possible.
Just a second. So you told her to get out?
Well, she took it upon herself
No,
to do
just
it
a
at the
second.
time.
I'm asking you whether you told her to get out.
At the time, when she was yelling and screaming about it, I said, well, if you think that's what you need to do, Chris, then you go right ahead. And then you're going to find out what
You're
it's
talking about
like.
your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You said to your daughter, get out.
17, rebelling. Not no.
Did your mother tell you to get out of the house?
No.
What did she say?
I said I wanted to go live with Francesca.
And your mother said what?
She said, if that's what you want to do, then go.
Your Honor.
What?
The story that I was receiving was that Kristen was having extreme abuse issues with
Just
her mother.
who? From whom?
From her mother.
From whom were you receiving this story?
Both Kristen and my son.
All I want you to do is tell me what Kristen said to you, not your son. Where is your son?
He does not want any further...
He's not here.
Correct.
Fine, then you can't tell me anything that your son had to say, only what Kristen had to say to you. Tell
Okay.
me what she said about the abuse she was having from her mother.
She said that there was physical abuse. She also stated that her mother had some mental issues and that there was some extreme situations regarding that.
Is that what you told her?
No. I
What did
never
you tell
talked
her?
to her about anything.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I didn't.
Well, what reason did you give her for wanting to come and live with her?
She wanted me to be a nanny.
Nah, that's ridiculous. That's a lot of baloney.
I don't need a nanny.
Just to say, that's a lot of baloney.
Her husband was going to Iraq, and she said she wanted me to move in to help with Carly.
That's baloney. You just told me that you had this discussion with your mother, and your mother said you were rebelling, and you were talking back to her, and you were difficult. And you said, I want to go move in with my boyfriend. And she said, if that's what you want to do, go. So don't tell me she offered you a job as a nanny, because that's ridiculous.
I think that's what it ended up being when she got there. Then
Well, when she got there, she may have said, listen, can you help me out with the children or the child or whatever it is? That's fine. I mean, she's living there. She's supporting her. I assume you gave her no money, right?
No, of course not.
Of course. Well, that's not of course not. It's not of course not. You told her to go. That doesn't mean you're absolved from the responsibility of supporting her. She's under 18. Do you understand?
Right.
Fine. Okay. So, when she got there, she said, listen, you're here, you're eating my food, you're living under my roof, you're using my gas and electric and water and telephone, you could help out with the kids. But that's not why you went. Now, tell me about this episode that landed you in the hospital. You had a what?
Urinary tract infection.
From too much sex?
No.
From what?
I get them, it's runs in my family. We get them really easily.
Oh. Have you had that problem when you lived with your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Has your mother ignored the problem?
No, ma'am.
She's taken care of the problem.
Yes, ma'am.
How has she taken care of the problem?
She would take me to the doctor.
And how often did she do that?
Every time I would get sick.
You know why she did that?
Because she cares.
No, because she cares. I hope she cares. But she did that because the law requires that she take care of her minor child's medical conditions. Otherwise, she's guilty of neglect. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Now, when you were living with Miss Lane and you got this urinary tract infection, tell me about what you did. Did you scream? Were you crying?
Yeah, I was crying.
Were you crying because you told her you were in pain?
Yes.
What did you say to her?
I said my stomach hurts really bad.
So what did Miss Lane do?
She wanted to take me to the hospital.
And what did you say?
I said I wanted to wait for my mom to get off work to take me.
Is that what you told her?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what she told you?
No.
What did she say?
In fact, Kristen had spent the majority of the day with her mother, and her mother had gone into work late in the evening.
You mean it wasn't hurting when you were with your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell your mother about it?
Yes.
And what did she do?
She wanted to take me.
What did she do?
Nothing.
Right. She went to work.
Exactly.
I was
And you went to work. And you went back to Miss Lane's house.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you have a history of urinary tract infections and you know that it becomes a problem and it's chronic, why didn't you take the day off from work and take her to the doctor?
I told her I was going to take her the next day to doctor's care because we didn't have the money for the emergency room. I said, drink water and cranberry juice through the night until I can get to you because we didn't have the money to take off. And I said, I'll take you tomorrow, first thing.
Then you're neglecting your child. Why didn't you take her that day?
Because I had to work.
That's not an excuse when your child is sick.
She couldn't drink water and cranberry juice. I've done that for years.
An excuse. Well, evidently it didn't work.
This one here kept calling, harassing me at work. Tried to run my daughter off the road.
Just a second.
Going to school, I said, Kristen, let me help you. Mom, I can handle it. Mom, I can handle it. It's been nothing that's been like a fatal attraction.
What are you blabbering about? Now, your daughter spends the day with you. She tells you that she's got the urinary tract infection back, which she's had before, which you know is chronic, which she says runs in your family. And you say to her, go home to Miss Lane's house, drink water and cranberry juice, and I'll see you tomorrow.
I said, drink water and cranberry juice so I can get you there tomorrow, because I was at work.
Till tomorrow. What did I say that was wrong?
I was at work day and night that day.
Who cares? Your child is sick. You're not supporting her. How long had you been living with Miss Lane before you got this urinary tract infection?
Maybe not even a month.
And in the month's period of time, how much money did you give Miss Lane from your mother to cover your expenses?
I only paid like $15. The agreement was $15 a week for a few
How
weeks.
much money did you get from your mother to give Miss Lane to take care of your expenses was my question.
None. None.
You have other children at home?
I have 4 children.
How many children do you have?
I have 2.
How old are they?
16 and 18.
So you have a 16-year-old
I have
at
a
home.
16-year-old in Virginia with her father.
So you don't have any children at home?
She lives with me.
She wasn't living with you when she lived with Miss Lane.
I didn't want her to go over there. She shouldn't have let her go over there. And it turned into a harassment thing with this lady.
Miss Hess, that's a lot of excuses. If your daughter spent the day with you, day before this incident occurred, then you should have said to her, sweetheart,
I was not.
You're not going
spending
home.
the day with her that day. I was at work.
Oh. How much is the bill?
Your Honor, I have one bill for $13.86, a physician bill for $2.11, and I also took care of all her prescription bills, which came to right around $70.
But Your Honor.
Go.
Can we show you on the paperwork where this one went
She told me that she wanted to foster me. She wanted to adopt me, put me on her health insurance, her driving insurance, wanted to make me part of the family, everything. She even wrote it on the paper that she was my foster mom, told me not to worry about the bill, that she would take care of it until Colby broke up with me, and now she's trying to get me for the bill.
Went back and changed
You
the paper.
are an idiot. And that's also probably congenital. Listen to me very carefully. Your mother is responsible until you are 18, which you are not, for your food, clothing, shelter, medical care, and all other necessaries, period. End of discussion. Unless you are an emancipated minor, which I haven't heard you went to court to become an emancipated minor. Do I make myself clear?
लाइक फॉलो शेयर करना ना बोले, ठीक है। और एंड तक कोक्रोच द वॉइस, ठीक है। हेलो एवरीवन, तो कैसे हैं आप लोग? ये देखो अपना घर, ब्लॉग दिखा रहा हूँ आपको, ठीक है। जुकाम हो रखा है मुझे, तो सब दारू पी लेना, थोड़ी थोड़ी मत पीना, ठीक है। दारू डेंजरस हेल्थ होती है, ठीक है। हाँ ठीक है भाई दोस्तों, पेटाकॉम सेटाकॉम क्या होता है ना। What's going on? Hello everyone, so guys, what's going on? My name is Navin Sharma. I'm going to perform event. Yeah, what's to like that? Super is like that is not for क्या बोलता है तुम मुझे? What's going on? It's like that. Super cool. Just yeah, I am feeling good, but I'm going to hell. It's like that. It's super. Okay, so bye bye दोस्तों. Let's see you soon. Bye bye. Let's go.